The signature looked close enough to fool someone who didn't know me. The first letter leaned the right way. The last name had the same long sweep under it, but whoever copied it had made the middle too careful. I've signed service tickets in cold basements, on furnace cabinets, and against the side of my truck. My signature doesn't look careful. I was standing at my kitchen counter on West State Street when I saw it. The paper had arrived by certified mail from the city of Marshalltown. Across the top, it said, "Amended Guarantee." Under that was my name, Stephen Barnett, and a promise that I would stand behind another $160,000 for my daughter's business. I knew one thing before I finished the first page. I had never signed it. My name is Stephen Barnett. I'm 62 years old. Before I go on, what city are you listening from? The copy shook once in my hand. I set it flat on the counter and pressed both palms beside it. My daughter Kayla was 36. Her husband, Zachary Hayes, was 39. They ran a small heating and cooling business on the south side of town. I had helped them start it. I had guaranteed their first city loan. I had covered more than a few payments when work slowed down. I'd also spent plenty of Saturdays repairing equipment they couldn't afford to replace. That was all real. I had agreed to it. This paper was different. To explain how it got onto my kitchen counter, I need to go back about 6 weeks. It was early May, and I was replacing a blower motor at a small house near the fairgrounds. The furnace was wedged into a closet beside the washing machine. The homeowner had stacked towels on top of my tool bag because she thought it was a shelf. I had just finished wiring the motor when my phone buzzed. It was Kayla. "Dad, are you working? I'm kneeling in somebody's laundry room." So that's a yes. That's usually what it means. She gave a little laugh, but it stopped quickly. "Could you come over tonight?" "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. Zach has something he wants to show you." I wiped my fingers on a rag. Kayla always said nothing was wrong when she needed me to arrive before Zachary started talking. "What time?" 6:30. "I'll be there." Before I hung up, I heard Zachary say something behind her. It sounded like, "Tell him about the building." Kayla covered the phone too late. "What building?" I asked. She paused. "Just come over, Dad." Their shop sat in a metal building behind an auto glass place. The front office had 2 desks, a coffee machine, and a row of framed certificates Zachary had ordered online. The service area smelled like sheet metal and old refrigerant oil. When I arrived, Zachary had covered the folding table with paper. He stood when I came in. "Steve, good. Take a look at this." He called me Steve when he wanted to sound like we were 2 businessmen in a room. When he needed me to repair something, I was Dad. Kayla was sitting near the coffee machine with her arms folded. She looked tired. There were 2 paper cups on the table, but neither one had been touched. Zachary slid a sales packet toward me. The business was called Mid-Iowa Mechanical. The owner was ready to retire. The company had commercial maintenance contracts, 3 vans, shop equipment, and a building lease that ran another 2 years. Zachary spoke quickly. "This gets us out of chasing residential calls, schools, medical offices, property managers, recurring work." I flipped through the packet. "What's the purchase price?" "It's in there. I'm asking you." He sat across from me. $210,000. We put down 50. The city handles 160. "You have 50,000? "We have a deposit structure." That wasn't my question. Kayla looked at him. He rubbed his jaw. 25 is already committed. Another 25 is due when financing clears. I looked at Kayla. Where did the first 25 come from? She looked down at the table. Zachary answered for her. We moved things around. From where? "It's covered." I closed the packet. That was the first question he wouldn't answer. The second was sitting in the numbers. Mid-Iowa Mechanical had decent sales, but its repair costs had risen for 3 straight years. 2 of the vans had over 200,000 miles. 1 commercial contract was due for renewal that fall, and it made up almost a quarter of the service revenue. "Did you speak to the property manager on this contract?" I asked. "The seller says it's stable." I asked if you spoke to them. "Not yet." "Then you don't know if it's stable." Zachary leaned back. "This is why I wanted you here. You see the weak spots?" "No, you wanted me here because the city needs my signature." Kayla's eyes moved to him. He didn't deny it. Their original loan came through the city's revolving loan program in 2022. Kayla and Zachary didn't have enough business history to qualify on their own. My wife had died the year before. At that point, I was saying yes to almost anything that made Kayla need me. The day I signed the first guarantee, Carolyn Norris sat across from us at City Hall. She was the program administrator. She went through every page without rushing. "This makes you responsible if they don't pay," she told me. "I understand. It also doesn't make you an owner. I understand that too." Kayla had reached under the table and squeezed my hand. "Thank you, Dad." I'd signed the original document in front of the proper people. Carolyn placed it in the city loan file with the standard program conditions behind it. Then we left together and ate lunch at a diner downtown. Back then, Zachary asked before he borrowed my tools. 4 years later, he was asking me to back a much larger debt before showing me whether the business could carry it. I pushed the sales packet back toward him. "I need an operating plan." Zachary frowned. "You're looking at it." "I'm looking at the seller's packet." "I want your plan. Payroll, vehicle replacement, contract renewals, and what happens if revenue comes in 20% below this forecast. We don't have weeks to build a banker presentation. I didn't ask for a banker presentation. The seller has a deadline. That doesn't change the numbers." Kayla spoke quietly. "When would you be willing to sign?" "When I understand what I'm signing." Zachary stood and walked toward the service area. He stopped beside a rolling cart with one broken wheel. It was my cart. I had loaned it to him the previous winter. He turned around. "You guaranteed the starter loan?" "Yes, and every payment has been made." I looked at Kayla. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Every payment had reached the city. That wasn't the same as saying they had made every payment. Twice the money had come from me. The last time was 7 months earlier. "I want the plan," I said. Zachary spread both hands. "If we lose this deal while we're writing imaginary disaster scenarios, there won't be another one. Then you should have prepared before paying a deposit." His mouth tightened. Kayla finally looked at me. "Dad, can we just take a few days? You can take as many as the seller gives you." "That's not what I meant. I know." I left the sales packet on the table and drove home. My house was quiet when I walked in. It had been quiet for 5 years, but some evenings still caught me off guard. I put my keys in the ceramic bowl my wife had kept near the door. She used to turn every thermostat down before bed, even when I told her it didn't save money that way. Her name was Linda. She could ask a direct question without making it sound like an accusation. I never learned how she did that. After she died, I kept trying to fill the space with jobs. Kayla's water heater quit, I replaced it. Her van needed brakes, I did them. The business came up short, I wrote a check and called it a loan. I told myself I was helping her stay on her feet. The trouble was, I never asked why she kept falling. 2 days after the meeting, Kayla came to my house carrying a grocery bag. "I brought sandwiches," she said. "You didn't have to." "I know." She set the bag on the counter. There was also a thin folder under her arm. I noticed it, but I didn't ask right away. We ate at the kitchen table. She told me one of their technicians had quit. I asked why. He got a better offer. Was he getting paid on time? She pulled a pickle from her sandwich. "Mostly." That's not an answer people use when the answer is yes. "Dad." "All right." She took another bite. The folder stayed beside her chair. After lunch, she carried our plates to the sink. When she came back, she put the folder on the table. "These are just some things Zach printed." The first page was a brochure for an estate planning seminar. The next one said, in large blue letters, "Protecting aging parents from financial confusion." I looked up at her. "Did he print these for me?" "He's been worried. About my estate, about stress." "You've been working a lot. I've worked a lot since before you were born." She pushed the folder an inch toward me. "There's nothing wrong with getting organized. I am organized. I know. I'm not saying you aren't." "Then what are you saying?" She rubbed the edge of the paper with her thumb. "Maybe somebody should help with your mail, important things. City letters, insurance, taxes." I sat back. "Who? I could. Why? So nothing gets missed." I studied her face. She looked nervous, but not dishonest. "Not yet." "Did I miss something?" "No." "Did the city call you about me?" "No." "Did Zach ask you to bring this?" Her thumb stopped moving. We both thought it made sense. There it was. I closed the folder and handed it back. "My mail stays here." She didn't take it. "Dad, don't make it into a thing. I'm not. I'm answering you." She finally picked up the folder. "Fine." The word came out harder than the rest of the conversation. At the door, she turned around. Carolyn might send routine loan papers. If she does, could you call me before you respond? Why? It would be easier. For who? She opened the door. I have to get back to work. After she left, I stood by the window and watched her drive away. I almost called her back. I wanted to make the afternoon normal again. Usually that meant offering to do something. Instead, I washed the 2 plates and went down to my workbench. I kept household records in a gray steel document box. Linda had bought it after a pipe burst in our old basement and soaked a stack of tax returns. I found the city loan folder and opened it. Inside were my copy of the original guarantee, payment notices, and notes from the 2 times I'd covered their shortage. I had written each amount and date on a yellow service pad. I added them up. It was more than I remembered. I copied the total onto a clean page. Then I wrote 3 questions beneath it. Where did the deposit come from? Why did Kayla want my mail? What exactly had the city been told? That small list was the first useful thing I'd done for myself in a long time. For the next few weeks, nobody showed me an operating plan. Zachary sent me upbeat text messages about commercial contracts. Kayla called twice, but neither conversation lasted more than 5 minutes. Then, on a Thursday afternoon, the certified envelope arrived. I signed for it at the front door. The carrier walked back toward his truck while I opened it at the kitchen counter. The first page thanked me for supporting the proposed amendment. The second showed the increased amount. The third contained the copy of my signature. I called Kayla. She answered on the 4th ring. "Hey, Dad, I got a letter from the city." Silence. Then I heard a door close on her end. "What kind of letter?" "You know what kind. Is it the amendment notice?" "Yes." She breathed out slowly. "Okay, don't panic." "I'm not panicking. It's temporary paperwork. My signature is on it." Another silence. "Dad, I can explain. Did you see this document before it went to the city? I don't want to do this while I'm at work. That wasn't my question. Zach is trying to keep the purchase moving. We were running out of time." I looked at the signature again. "Did I sign this? You agreed to help us with the business. In 2022. It's tied to the same loan. That still isn't an answer." Her voice dropped. "Please don't call anybody yet." I could hear Zachary in the background asking who she was talking to. Kayla said, "I have to go." "Kayla, I'll come by tonight." She ended the call. For a few seconds, I stood there with the phone against my ear. Then I set it down and read every page again. The notice listed Carolyn Norris's direct number. I called it. "Revolving Loan Office, this is Carolyn. This is Stephen Barnett." Her tone warmed. "Mr. Barnett, I assume you received the certified copy." "I did. I need to see the complete city file." She paused. "All right. Is there a problem with the notice? I'd rather discuss that after I see what you have. When can you come in? Tomorrow morning? I can meet you at 9. Please don't call Kayla or Zachary before then." The warmth left her voice, but not the calm. "I won't discuss your request with another borrower. Thank you." I hung up, returned the papers to the envelope, and carried it downstairs. At my workbench, I placed it beside the steel document box. Then I locked the basement door and put the key in my pocket. I had barely reached the top of the stairs when someone knocked at the front door. It was Kayla. She was still wearing the navy polo shirt with their company logo. Her hair was pulled back, and there was a dark streak of dust along one sleeve. She didn't have her purse. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. She walked straight to the kitchen counter and looked around. "Where's the envelope?" "Put away." "Dad, I need to see what they sent." "You've already seen it. I've seen the amendment. I haven't seen the notice." "What's the difference?" She opened her mouth, then looked toward the basement door. "Did you lock that?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because the letter is mine." Her face changed when I said that. Not much, but enough. She was used to coming into my house and knowing where everything was. She had a key. She knew the code to the garage door. If I was out on a service call, she would let herself in and leave invoices on my workbench. Until that evening, I had never treated any part of my home as a place she couldn't enter. "You think I'd take it?" she asked. "I think you came here looking for it. I came because you sounded upset." "I'm not upset. I'm trying to understand what happened." She pulled out a chair and sat down. "Then sit with me." I stayed where I was. "Did you send the amendment to the city?" "I helped with the paperwork. That's not specific enough." Zach had already filled everything out. "Who signed my name?" She looked toward the window. "Can we please not do this like an interrogation? Tell me how you'd like me to ask." I'm trying to explain that this isn't some separate giant loan. It's an amendment to the one you already backed, and it raises my risk by $160,000. The business is worth more after the purchase, only if the numbers hold. They will. Then why didn't Zach show me a plan? She pressed her lips together. He was going to. Before or after my signature appeared. Dad. I waited. When Kayla was little, silence worked better than repeating myself. Linda taught me that. If Kayla knew the question was still sitting there, she would eventually answer it. That night, she stood instead. I knew you were going to make this hard. I looked at her. I made it hard? You know what I mean? No. Tell me. She walked to the sink and turned on the faucet. There was nothing in the sink. She let the water run for a moment, then shut it off. The seller gave Zach a deadline. The committee calendar was already set. If they missed this meeting, the seller was walking away. So somebody signed for me. You've always helped us. That isn't permission. I didn't say it was. You keep saying everything except what it was. She turned around. It was a way to keep the process moving. There was the phrase again. Temporary paperwork. Keep the process moving. Every answer had motion in it, as if stopping long enough to name the thing would cause it to become real. Did Carolyn know I hadn't signed in front of her? Kayla's eyes came back to mine. The page was notarized. That wasn't my question. I wasn't there when the city accepted it. Where were you? At the shop. Who took it in? Zach handled the final packet. That gave me one small piece of information, but not the one I needed. Zachary had delivered the packet, or at least Kayla wanted me to believe he had. It still didn't tell me who had put my name on the page. She reached for her phone. I should call him. Why? Because you're going to turn this into something bigger. I haven't done anything. You called Carolyn. I hadn't told her that. For the first time that evening, I moved quickly. I pulled out the chair across from her and sat down. How do you know? She stared at her phone. Did she call you back? No. Then how? Zach told me you probably would. You said I called her. Kayla closed her eyes for a second. The city office has caller identification. Maybe somebody saw your number. At 6:30 in the evening? She didn't answer. I thought about the direct number printed on the notice. I had called Carolyn less than 15 minutes earlier. Carolyn had promised not to discuss my request with another borrower. I believed her. That meant Kayla was guessing, or she had seen me make the call somehow. My phone was on the kitchen counter. I picked it up and opened the account settings. The family plan had started years earlier. Kayla still managed the online account because she had set it up when Linda was alive. The call history was available to the account manager. Kayla watched me understand. It just shows numbers, she said. You checked my calls? I wanted to know if you called the city. You could have asked. You wouldn't have told me. You didn't give me the chance. She grabbed her phone from the table. This is exactly what Zach said would happen. What did he say? That you'd take it personally. I gave a short laugh, though nothing about it was funny. My name is on a financial guarantee I didn't sign. How would you like me to take it? She moved toward the door. You don't understand what's at stake for us. Then stay and explain it. I can't talk to you when you're like this. Like what? But she had already opened the door. I followed her onto the front step. Kayla, did you know before today that my signature was on that page? She stopped beside her car. For 1 second, I thought she was going to tell me. Then her phone rang. Zachary's name appeared on the screen. She looked at it, then at me. I have to go back. She got into the car and left. I stood outside until her taillights disappeared at the end of the street. When I went inside, I removed Kayla as manager of my phone account. It took less than 5 minutes. The website sent a confirmation code to my number. I entered it and changed the password. It was a tiny thing. I should have done it years earlier. Still, when the screen said the account had been updated, I felt as if I had recovered a room in my own house. The problem was, I couldn't pretend Kayla had taken that access from me. I had handed it to her. After Linda died, there had been stacks of envelopes on the kitchen table. Insurance forms, utility notices, medical bills, thank you cards I couldn't bring myself to open. Kayla came over one Sunday and sorted them into neat piles. I'll put all this online, she'd said. Whatever makes it easier, for you or me, both. She had smiled. That was how most of it happened. I didn't make a decision. I let someone else remove a task, then thanked them for doing it. The same pattern followed me into their business. The first time Kayla called about a missed city payment, she didn't ask for money. She came to my house holding a paper cup and sat at the kitchen table. She talked about a slow month. Then she mentioned 2 customers who hadn't paid. They owe us almost $11,000, she said. That's a lot to carry. Zach says it'll come in. When is the city payment due? She looked surprised, though she wasn't. Friday. How short are you? Dad, I didn't come to ask. How short? She told me. I wrote the check. The second time, she called while I was working in my garage. Are you busy? She asked. That was another phrase with a second meaning. It never meant she wanted to talk. I covered the shortage again. The following winter, one of their recovery machines quit. A new one would have cost several $1,000s. Zachary brought it to my garage without calling first. He lowered the tailgate of his truck and said, I figured if anybody can save it, you can. I spent most of the weekend rebuilding the compressor. On Sunday afternoon, he picked it up and tested the switches. Perfect, he said. Knew you'd handle it. He loaded it and drove away. Kayla called that evening. Zach said you fixed the machine. Thank you. You're welcome. You saved us. At the time, those words had felt good. That was difficult to admit while I sat alone at my kitchen table. I hadn't simply wanted Kayla to be safe. I had wanted to be the person she called when something failed. Linda had never let me get away with that confusion. Once, after I canceled dinner plans because Kayla's van needed an alternator, Linda stood in the garage holding my jacket. She can take it to a shop, she said. I can do it faster. That's not the point. It'll save her money. That isn't the point either. I kept working. Linda waited until I looked up. Did Kayla ask you to fix it? She mentioned the battery light. So you offered. She needs the van. She needs a father, too. Sometimes those are different jobs. I had laughed and said, I can be both. Linda handed me my jacket. Then come to dinner. I finished the alternator instead. Sitting there 5 years after losing her, I could still see the disappointment on her face. It wasn't anger. Anger would have been easier. I went downstairs and unlocked the basement door. The certified notice lay beside the document box. I opened the box again and removed the yellow service pad. Beneath my notes about the loan payments were receipts for parts I had bought for their business. A control board, a vacuum pump seal kit, 2 replacement gauges, brake pads for the older van. I had kept the receipts because I called the expenses loans. I had never given Kayla a total. I had never asked for a payment. I had never even said when I expected the money back. I added those amounts to the figure from earlier. Then I found a small envelope tucked behind the folder. Linda's handwriting was on the front. House documents. Inside was a list she had made before she died. Insurance contact. Property tax dates. Location of the deed. The combination for the steel box. At the bottom, she had written, Ask directly. Write down the answer. That was Linda. No speech, no decoration. I placed the list on the workbench and called Kayla again. She didn't answer. I left a message. I'm meeting Carolyn at 9. I need you to come to my house at 7:30 before I leave. I'm asking directly. I want to know who signed my name, who saw it happen, and where the document was notarized. I ended the call. A few minutes later, Zachary called. I let it ring once more than usual, then answered. You're making Kayla sick over this, he said. There was no hello. I asked her a question. You know how much pressure she's under, then you answer it. I'm not getting dragged into some family drama. This is business paperwork with my name on it. It's all part of the same package you already supported. I didn't support this purchase. You didn't reject it. I asked for an operating plan. We were working on it. You filed the amendment because the committee deadline doesn't care about your personal pace. I looked at Linda's list. Did you sign my name? He went quiet. Then he said, That's a ridiculous question. It only needs one word. You know what, Steve? We've spent 4 years building something. You show up for an hour, poke holes in it, then act like everybody needs your approval. The city needs my approval. That's why my signature is on the page. He exhaled hard into the phone. Kayla said you'd help. Kayla can't make that promise for me. She knows you better than anyone. Apparently, she thought that was the same as consent. You've covered us every time. The words came out sharp and certain. Not asked, not hoped. Covered. I looked across the basement at the shelves of tools. Half the empty spaces belonged to things Zachary had borrowed. Bring back my vacuum pump tomorrow, I said. What? The red one. Bring it back. We're using it. It belongs to me. We have scheduled jobs. then rent one. He gave a dry laugh. You're going to hurt the business over paperwork? No, I'm asking for my tool. This is unbelievable. 7:30 tomorrow. If Kayla wants to answer me before I meet Carolyn, she knows where I'll be. I hung up. My hand stayed around the phone for a while. Zachary had finally answered one question, though he probably didn't realize it. He didn't think my help was help anymore. He thought it was part of their operating equipment. The harder truth was that I had trained him to think that. I put Linda's list back in its envelope. Then I carried the certified notice upstairs and placed it beside my truck keys. At 7:20 the next morning, I made coffee for two and waited at the kitchen table. At 7:30, neither Kayla nor Zachary was there. At 7:35, a truck stopped at the curb. Zachary got out, lowered the tailgate, and set my red vacuum pump on the grass beside the driveway. He didn't come to the door. I stepped outside. The hose is yours too, I said. He looked into the truck bed, picked up the hose, and dropped it beside the pump. Anything else? My rolling cart. It's got tools on it. Take them off. I'm not unloading a whole cart this morning. Then bring it after work. He shut the tailgate. Kayla isn't coming. I figured that out. She barely slept. Neither did I. He pointed toward the house. You've got her scared to death. All she has to do is answer me. She doesn't owe you an interview. I bent down and checked the pump. One of the brass caps was missing. The power cord had been wound around the handle so tightly it had bent near the plug. Where's the cap? What cap? The one that keeps dirt out of the inlet. I don't know. Find it. He laughed once. You really know how to focus on the important thing. I'm focusing on what belongs to me. His face hardened. That's the whole problem with you. What is? You help, then later decide everybody has to answer to you. I stood up. You asked me to guarantee your debt. We asked you to support your daughter. No, you asked for a signature. He glanced toward the neighboring house. A woman across the street was rolling a trash bin toward her garage. Keep your voice down. My voice is fine. He stepped closer. Don't walk into City Hall and blow up something you don't understand. That's why I'm going. To understand it. The committee meeting is next Thursday. We can get you the operating plan before then. You already used my name? The city hasn't released anything. I watched him. How do you know what the city has done? Because it's our loan. Then tell me exactly where it stands. He looked at his watch. I have a crew waiting. You had time to bring the pump. You demanded it. Yes, I did. He shook his head and walked back to his truck. Bring the cart tonight, I said. He opened the driver's door. You'll get it when we're done with the jobs. The truck pulled away. I carried the pump into my garage and set it on the bench. The bent cord bothered me more than it should have. I unwound it, inspected the insulation, and replaced the missing brass cap with one from a drawer. The machine still worked. That was the pattern in one object. They used it until I asked for it back. Then the asking became the offense. At 8:15, Kayla sent a message. I can't meet this morning. Please don't make any decisions until we talk. I typed, I asked you to talk. I waited. No answer came. Before leaving, I placed the certified notice in a plain folder. I also brought my copy of the original guarantee and the yellow service pad. Then I locked the steel box and put the key on my regular key ring. Marshalltown City Hall was only a short drive from my house. I arrived early and parked along West State Street. People were going in and out through the main doors. A city truck idled near the curb, while two workers carried folded signs into the building. I stayed in my truck until 8:55. My phone rang while I was crossing the sidewalk. Kayla. I stopped near the steps and answered. I'm outside City Hall. Dad, please wait. For what? I'm coming over after work. You had a chance this morning. Zach took the pump back. Isn't that what you wanted? I wanted an answer. I'm trying to keep everybody calm. I am calm. You don't sound calm. What would calm sound like to you? She was quiet. Then she said, Don't accuse me of something in there. I haven't accused you. You asked who signed your name. That's a question. You know how it sounds. Yes. A bus passed behind me. I moved closer to the building. Did you tell the city I signed at home? Her breathing changed. Not much. Just one short breath. Why are you asking that? Because I'm about to look at the file. Dad, paperwork gets submitted all kinds of ways now. Did you tell them I signed at home? I wasn't the one who spoke to Carolyn. Who did? I have to go. Kayla. The call ended. That breath was useful. It wasn't proof, but it told me I had finally asked the right question. I went inside. Carolyn's office was on the second floor. She was 55, with short gray-brown hair and reading glasses on a cord. I remembered those glasses from the original signing. She wore them when she read a document and took them off when she wanted to make sure a person understood her. She met me in the reception area. "Mr. Barnett, Carolyn, come in." Her office had 2 metal filing cabinets and a window facing the street. A city calendar hung beside her desk. Next Thursday was circled in blue ink. She closed the door. I pulled the file, but before we look at it, I need to ask why you requested confidentiality. I placed the certified notice on her desk. "I didn't sign this amendment." Carolyn didn't touch the paper immediately. "You're certain?" "I know my own hand." She put on her glasses and opened the folder. The city's copy was already on her desk. She set mine beside it and compared the pages. "The copy you received matches what's in the file," she said. I assumed it would. "And this was not signed by you?" "No." "Did you authorize someone to sign for you?" "No." "Did you give verbal consent to the amendment?" I told Kayla and Zachary I would discuss it after I saw an operating plan. "Did you see one?" "No." She took off her glasses. "I need to be careful about what I say next." "That's fine." The packet was complete when our office accepted it for committee review. That included the borrower's application, the purchase information, and your amended guarantee. "Who brought it in?" She checked an intake sheet clipped inside the file. "Mr. Hayes." "When?" She gave me the date. It was the morning after the meeting at their shop. I had been replacing a rooftop unit at a dental office that day. I remembered because rain started before we got the old unit covered. My clothes had stayed wet until supper. "Did you speak to him?" "Briefly. One of our staff received the packet. I reviewed it later." "Did Zachary say where I signed?" Carolyn looked through her notes. "He said the guarantee had been completed outside the office due to your health." I stared at her. "My health?" "He said you were recovering at home and wanted to avoid an unnecessary trip." "Recovering from what?" He didn't specify. I sat back. Nothing had been wrong with me. I had worked a full day before and a full day after. Carolyn turned another page toward me. It was the notary acknowledgement at the bottom of the amended guarantee. The language said I had personally appeared before Marie Fuentes and acknowledged signing the document voluntarily. There was a commission number, an expiration date, and a round ink stamp. "Do you know this notary?" Carolyn asked. "No." "Have you ever met her?" "Not that I know of." "Could she have come to your house?" "No one came to my house." She wrote something on a legal pad. "Who is Marie Fuentes?" I asked. "The city doesn't select the borrower's notary. Her information is listed here. I'll verify that her commission was active. I don't want you calling her yet." Carolyn looked up. "Why?" "I want to see the rest of the file before anybody is warned. I'm not investigating this for you, Mr. Barnett." "I understand. If there's a defective acknowledgement, we have procedures. I'm asking for time to understand what was submitted in my name." She thought about it. "I won't contact the notary while we're reviewing the file. I can't promise no one else will. That's fair." She placed the amended guarantee in front of me. I leaned closer to the signature. The person who copied it had used my original middle initial, the one I rarely used anymore. That detail had bothered me since the notice arrived. It made sense only if the person had seen the first guarantee or another older document. "Who had access to the original?" I asked. "The original stays in this file. Could Zachary have received a copy?" All guarantors and borrowers received copies after closing. I had mine at home. Carolyn checked a distribution sheet. A borrower copy went to the business address, so they had my signature. They had a photocopy of the signed guarantee, yes. That closed one question. Whoever made the new signature didn't need access to my house. A copy had been sitting at the shop for 4 years. It also opened a worse one. This wasn't someone guessing what my signature looked like. Someone had worked from a city document I had signed because I trusted my daughter. Carolyn flipped to the amendment application. "Your phone number is wrong here," she said. I looked. The number listed under guarantor contact belonged to Kayla. "My number hasn't changed. Your home address is correct." "Who filled this out?" "The handwriting appears consistent with the borrower application." "Zachary's?" "I can't make that determination." I recognized his block printing. He wrote capital letters with square corners, the same way he labeled bins at the shop. Would notices go to that phone number? Informal scheduling calls might. Official notices go to the mailing address in our main record, so the certified letter came because you already had my home address. Yes. If you had used only this page, Kayla would have received the call. That's possible. It was the first time I understood why she had wanted control of my mail. The phone number on the amendment led to her. The home address was the one part they couldn't quietly replace because it already sat in the city's original file. Did anyone call that number? Carolyn checked her contact log. Our office called Monday to confirm attendance at next Thursday's committee meeting. Who answered? A woman identifying herself as Kayla Hayes. What did she say? That you were aware of the meeting, but might not attend due to your health. I looked toward the blue circle on the calendar. Again with my health. Yes, I was working Monday. I'm only telling you what's in the log. Did Kayla say what was wrong with me? No. She said travel and long meetings had become difficult. I live less than 10 minutes away. I know. Carolyn's expression had changed. At first she had been handling a disputed signature. Now she was reading her own notes differently. Is that why you sent the certified copy? I asked. We send one to every guarantor before amended funds are released. It's routine. If Kayla had collected my mail, I might never have seen it. I can't answer that. She didn't need to. The pamphlet on my kitchen table hadn't been concern. The offer to manage important letters hadn't been a favor. They needed me reachable enough to support the loan, but not reachable enough to contradict them. Carolyn removed another group of pages from the file. Was any money released under this amendment? I asked. Not yet. Has the committee approved it? No. The meeting is required. Then what happens between now and Thursday? The committee reviews the proposal. If it approves, staff confirms the closing conditions. The seller's deadline requires financing to remain valid until the committee adjourns. Why until adjournment? The seller's written offer allows the purchase to proceed if the city commitment remains in place through the meeting. If it doesn't, the financing condition fails. What happens to their deposit? That's between the buyer and seller. The purchase agreement says it becomes non-refundable once the committee meeting begins. I looked at the circled date again. Zachary hadn't only created pressure. He had built a point after which backing away would cost them money. Carolyn rested her hand on the next set of pages. There is something else you should see. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from Kayla appeared on the screen. Please come home before you do anything. Zach wants all of us to sit down together. I turned the phone face down on Carolyn's desk. Show me, I said. Carolyn turned the first page toward me. It was my original guarantee from 2022. The blue ink had faded slightly, but the signature was mine. I remembered the pen. It had skipped near the end, so I'd gone over one letter twice. She placed the amended guarantee beside it. Even without knowing me, a person could see the difference. The original moved quickly. The new one looked drawn. Carolyn pointed to the pages stapled behind the original. These are the standard conditions for every guarantor in this program. I have a copy at home. Did you read them when you signed? I read what made me responsible if they failed to pay. That's what most people focus on. She turned to the second page and moved her finger down the paragraphs. This condition applies before any new funds are disbursed. I leaned closer. The language was simpler than I expected. A guarantor could withdraw consent to an amendment in writing any time before the amended funds were released. The withdrawal would cancel the amendment. It would not erase or change the existing loan. I read it twice, so I can withdraw from the additional amount. Yes. But I still guarantee what I signed in 2022. Yes. And Kayla and Zachary still owe that existing balance. Correct. What happens to this purchase? The city financing tied to the amendment would no longer be available, even if the committee approves it. If your withdrawal arrives before disbursement, the amendment cannot close. I looked at the clock on her wall. The office had been open less than an hour. Outside the window, traffic moved along West State Street as if nothing had changed. Why didn't the notice mention this? It did. She turned my certified copy over. Near the bottom of the back page was a reference to the standard program conditions. It didn't explain them. It gave the section number. I never would have known what that meant. That's why I'm showing you the underlying file. Would Kayla and Zachary know? They received the conditions with the original loan documents. Did the amendment packet include them again? Yes. She found a checklist. Zachary had initialed beside the line, confirming receipt of all program conditions. He knew a guarantor could withdraw before disbursement. That explained his urgency. It explained the false stories about my health. It explained why Kayla wanted me to wait before responding. They didn't only need my name on the page, they needed me quiet until the money moved. What does the withdrawal have to say? I asked. There's no special form. It needs to identify you, the loan, and the amendment. It should state clearly that you withdraw guarantor consent before disbursement. Does it need to be notarized? No. Does Kayla have to agree? No. Zachary? No. Does the committee vote on whether to accept it? No. Consent belongs to the guarantor. I sat back. Carolyn folded her hands on the desk. I need to be clear about something. I'm explaining the program rule. I'm not advising you what to do. I understand. If you submit a withdrawal today, our office will notify the borrowers that the amendment can't proceed. So, they'll know immediately. Yes. What if I wait? The condition stays available until funds are disbursed. But waiting creates practical risk. Documents can be processed quickly after committee approval. Could the money be released during the meeting? No. Staff still has closing steps afterward. Then the meeting is the last public point before everything starts moving. That's a fair way to put it. I picked up my phone. Kayla's message was still there. Please come home before you do anything. The word home bothered me. She meant my house, but she wrote it as if I were somewhere I didn't belong. Can I get copies of everything we discussed? You can receive copies of documents tied to your guarantee. Today? Yes. She stood and walked to the copier outside her office. While she was gone, I looked at the original guarantee resting on her desk. 4 years earlier, I had signed it because Kayla sat beside me and squeezed my hand. I hadn't asked to see a repayment plan between us. I hadn't set a limit on the repairs I would do. I hadn't even told her that covering a city payment once didn't mean I would do it again. Now, a standard condition I had barely noticed was the only reason I still had a choice. Carolyn returned with a stack of copies and placed them in a large envelope. I included the original guarantee, the amendment, the intake record, the contact log, and the applicable conditions. Thank you. I also need to document what you told me today. That I didn't sign? Yes. What happens after you document it? I'll flag the amendment file for review. That doesn't cancel anything by itself. Will Zachary see the flag? Not unless he requests a status update, or we need information from him. I'm not asking you to hide anything improper. I know. I want one chance to ask my daughter what she did. Carolyn studied me for a moment. The committee packet goes out Monday afternoon. If you plan to submit anything for the committee record, I need it before noon on Monday. The meeting was Thursday. That gave me the weekend and part of Monday. If I submit the withdrawal before noon Monday, does the meeting still happen? Not for this amendment. We would remove it from the agenda. I looked again at the circled date. If I submit it at the meeting, it would be entered into the record then. Would you accept it? If it meets the condition and arrives before disbursement, yes. Even if they object, their objection wouldn't restore your consent. That was the answer I needed. It didn't make the choice easy. It made the choice mine. Carolyn walked me to the door. Mr. Barnett, I turned. If anyone pressures you to sign another document, don't do it without bringing it here first. I won't. And keep your certified notice. It's going into a locked box. She nodded. I left City Hall carrying the envelope under my arm. My first service call was at a small office near the courthouse. The air conditioner had stopped during the night. I found a blown capacitor, replaced it, and waited for the compressor to start. The office manager stood beside me. That's it? That's it. I thought we'd need a whole new unit, not today. She thanked me and went back inside. I stayed near the condenser until the pressure settled. Work usually cleared my head because machines didn't soften what they needed. A failed part either carried a load or it didn't. My phone buzzed 3 times. The first message was from Kayla. Are you done at City Hall? The second came 2 minutes later. Carolyn's office called Zach. The third said, please answer me. I put the phone away and finished the service ticket. At 11:30, I stopped at a sandwich shop and sat alone near the window. I opened Carolyn's envelope and read the withdrawal condition again. I could have driven back to City Hall and ended the amendment before lunch. My pen was in my shirt pocket. I even wrote the date at the top of a blank page. Then I pictured Kayla standing in my kitchen, turning on an empty faucet. I remembered the way she had looked when I asked if she knew about the signature. She was hiding something, but I still didn't know how much of it belonged to her. Zachary could have copied my name. He could have told her I had agreed. She could have helped with the paperwork without seeing the final page. I didn't believe all of that, not completely. But there was enough room left for me to ask once more. I folded the blank page and returned it to the envelope. At noon, Kayla called. I answered. "What did Carolyn tell you?" she asked. "That the city has an amendment with my name on it. We know that." She also showed me the contact page. Kayla went quiet. "Why is your number listed as mine?" Zach filled out the forms. "You answered the city's call. They called the shop. You told them I might miss the meeting because of my health. I said you'd been under stress. The log doesn't say stress. Carolyn writes everything down like it's a federal case. What's wrong with my health? Nothing. Then why did you say there was? Because we didn't know if you'd show up. You could have invited me. Would you have come?" "Yes." "You wouldn't even look seriously at the deal." I looked seriously enough to ask questions. Questions Zach didn't have time to answer. He had time to file my guarantee. Someone spoke near her. Kayla covered the phone, but I heard Zachary's voice. "Did Carolyn tell him the file is flagged?" Kayla moved away from him. "Dad, what did you tell her?" "The truth." "Which is what?" "That I didn't sign." Her voice dropped. "You shouldn't have done that." I set my sandwich down. "Why?" "Because now the city thinks there's a problem. There is a problem. It could have been corrected privately." "How?" "We could have brought you another page for me to sign." "Yes." "After you'd already submitted one, it would replace it." "Why would I sign another page without the operating plan?" She made a small sound of frustration. "Can you stop talking about the plan for 1 minute?" "No. This deal is our chance to get ahead. Then show me it works." "You don't trust us?" "I don't trust a document I didn't sign." "That's not the same thing." "It became the same thing when you defended it." She didn't answer. I lowered my voice. "Kayla, I'm giving you one chance. Come to my house alone tonight. Tell me exactly what happened. No Zachary. No phrases about moving things along. Just tell me who put my name on that paper. What happens if I do? That depends on the answer. So you've already decided to punish us. I haven't decided anything. You went through our city file, my guarantee file. See, that's what I mean. Everything is yours when you want control." I looked out the window. A man was unlocking his bicycle from a rack across the street. "I'll be home at 6, I said. "I don't know if I can come alone." "You drive your own car." "That's not what I mean." "I know." I ended the call. My next 2 jobs took me across town. The second one ran late because the furnace access panel had been painted shut. When I arrived home, it was almost 6:30. A silver sedan was parked in my driveway. A woman I didn't know stood on the front porch holding a leather folder. She appeared to be in her 50s. Zachary was beside her. Kayla's car was not there. I parked at the curb and walked toward them. Zachary gave me a careful smile. "Steve, this is someone we thought you should talk to." The woman held out her hand. "I work with families who are starting to plan for changes in independence." I didn't take her hand. "What changes?" She glanced at Zachary. He answered. "Kayla's concerned about you." "Where is she?" "She's at the shop. She was supposed to meet me here. She didn't feel safe coming alone." I looked at the woman's folder. "What did they tell you?" "I'd prefer to sit down somewhere private." "You're standing on my porch." "Yes." "You weren't invited by me." Zachary stepped between us slightly. "Don't embarrass her. She drove over to help." "I didn't ask for help." "Steve, people are noticing things." "What people? Your daughter, me, people at the city." "That last one isn't true." His smile disappeared. The woman lowered her hand. "Mr. Barnett, I don't want to intrude." "Then don't." She nodded once, walked to her car, and left without another word. Zachary watched her turn at the corner. "That was rude. You brought a stranger to assess my independence because I questioned a forged signature. Don't use that word. Why? Because you can't prove it. I can prove I didn't sign." He stepped closer. "You're tired. You're grieving. You've been alone in this house for years, and now you're making one piece of paperwork into an attack." I unlocked my front door. "Bring back the rolling cart." He put his foot against the bottom of the door before I could close it. "You need to think carefully about what you're doing." "I have." "No, you haven't. You don't understand how bad this can get for Kayla. Then she should come tell me. She's not sitting in a room with you while you threaten her." I asked her to tell the truth. He took his foot away. "Sometimes families have to step in before someone hurts himself." I looked at him through the opening. "Is that what you're planning?" "I'm saying we have options too." I closed the door and locked it. Then I went down to my workbench, took out a clean sheet of paper, and wrote my withdrawal from the amended guarantee. I signed it, dated it, and placed it inside the steel document box. I did not take it to City Hall. Not yet. I slept badly and woke before 5. By 6, I was in the garage repairing the vacuum pump cord. I removed the plug, cut away the damaged section, and fitted a new one. The work took 20 minutes. I spent another hour cleaning the pump and checking the oil. At 7:10, someone knocked. Kayla stood outside with the leather folder the woman had carried the night before. "Can I come in? Are you alone?" "Yes." I opened the door. She walked into the kitchen but didn't take off her jacket. She placed the folder on the table. "Zach doesn't know I'm here. I doubt that. He thinks I'm picking up breakfast. Then you should decide whether you're going to keep lying to him too." She flinched. "That's not fair." "Probably not." I poured coffee into 2 cups. She took hers but didn't drink. "What's in the folder?" I asked. "Information." "About what?" "Getting you evaluated." I sat across from her. "For what?" "Decision-making capacity." "Because I asked about my signature." "Because you've changed." "Give me an example that doesn't involve this loan." She looked down at the coffee. "You locked the basement after somebody used my name. You took me off the phone account after you checked my calls. You demanded equipment back in the middle of scheduled work, equipment that belongs to me. You see how you have an answer for everything? I'd be more concerned if I didn't." She opened the folder. Inside was the consultant's business card, a brochure about financial capacity, and several pages with blanks. The top page was labeled as a petition for appointment of a conservator. My name had been typed into the first line. I didn't touch it. "Did you fill this out?" "No." "Did Zach?" "He downloaded it." "Why is it here?" "He wants you to understand that there are other ways to protect the business." "From me?" "From a sudden decision. The business was never mine. Your guarantee affects it. That doesn't give you control over me." She pushed the folder closer. "No one is trying to control you." I turned the first page around and pointed to the title. "What do you think this means?" "It would only be filed if there was a reason." "What reason?" "If you acted irrationally." "Who decides that?" "A court, I guess." "You guess?" "We haven't done this before." "Then why did you bring it into my house?" Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. "Because Zach says you could ruin everything by Thursday." "Did he tell you the amendment can be stopped before the money is released?" Her eyes moved away. That answered me. "He knew," I said. "We both read the original conditions, and you still submitted a guarantee I didn't sign. I didn't come here to fight about that. You came here with a petition saying I can't manage my own decisions. It isn't signed, neither was the guarantee. Not by me." She closed the folder. "Can you just wait until after the committee meeting?" "For what?" "Once the acquisition closes, we'll have more income. We can straighten everything out, straighten out my signature. We can replace the page with a real signature I still haven't agreed to give." She stood. "You're not hearing me? I hear you clearly. You want the money released first. I want us to survive. You were surviving before this purchase." "Barely." That word stayed between us. I looked at the folder. "How barely?" She picked it up. "We've had a rough spring. You paid a $25,000 deposit. Zach found a way." "What way?" "He handled it. That answer doesn't work anymore." She moved toward the door. "I have to go. Leave the folder." "Why?" "It has my name in it. It's just a draft." "Then you don't need it." She held it against her chest. "Zach will know I came here. He sent you with it. He didn't tell me to leave it. I walked to the door and opened it. You can take it. But if anything gets filed, I want a copy the same day. Nothing has been filed. Good." She stepped onto the porch. "Are you coming to the shop for the cart?" "Yes. Come before noon. Zach has an installation." She started down the steps. "Kayla," she turned. "Who paid the deposit?" Her face tightened. "Come before noon." She left. I watched her drive away, then wrote down the conversation while I could remember the exact words. I didn't know if the petition was a threat, a plan, or another piece of pressure. I only knew my name had already been typed into it. At 10:30, I drove to the shop. The service doors were open. My rolling cart stood near the middle of the floor. Someone had removed most of the tools, but a manifold gauge set still hung from the side. Kayla was alone at the front desk. "Zach left 20 minutes ago," she said. "That was convenient." I asked him to leave the cart. I rolled it toward the door. One wheel dragged sideways. "It wasn't broken when I loaned it. The floor drain catches it sometimes. The wheel is bent. I'll pay for it." I stopped. "Will you?" "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you've said that before." I lifted the gauge set from the side. This is mine too. She watched me inspect the hoses. Take anything you think is yours. I don't think it's mine. I bought it. Fine. There were 3 empty spaces in the bottom drawer. I had loaned Zachary a tubing expander, a combustion analyzer, and a cordless press tool. Where are the rest? On the trucks. I need them back. Today? Yes. We have jobs. So do I. She came around the desk. Dad, we can't stop working because you're angry. I'm not asking you to stop. I'm asking you to use your equipment. We were planning to buy more after the acquisition. With the city money, with business revenue, the revenue you don't have yet. She folded her arms. You've made your point. I'm trying to find out if your company can operate without my tools and my checks. We have our own tools. Then returning mine shouldn't matter. I pushed the cart toward my truck. The bent wheel caught on the threshold. I tipped the cart back and pulled it over. Kayla followed me outside. Let me help. I've got it. I know you've got it. She grabbed the other side. Together we lifted the cart into the truck bed. For a moment, neither of us moved. This was the part of our relationship I understood. A heavy object, a clear task. Both of us holding one side. Then she let go. The deposit came from the operating account, she said. I kept my hands on the cart. All 25,000? Most of it. What does most mean? 22. Where did the other 3 come from? Our savings, yours and Zachary's? Yes. What was the operating money supposed to cover? She looked back at the open shop door. Payroll, fuel, parts, and the existing city payment, that too. When is it due? Monday. I lowered the tailgate but didn't close it. How much is in the account now? I don't know exactly. Yes, you do. She rubbed her forehead. Not enough for everything. Is payroll covered? If 2 invoices clear? When? One should clear Monday. The other might be Tuesday. You moved payroll and loan money into a purchase deposit. Zach did. Did you agree? He said we had to show the seller we were serious. That isn't what I asked. I signed the transfer. There it was. Not the signature on my guarantee. Her own signature on their money. Did you know it would leave the city payment short? I thought the amendment would close before it became a problem. The committee isn't until Thursday. We expected a short extension. From the city? From you. I looked at her. She covered her mouth with one hand, as if she could put the words back. You expected me to make Monday's payment. We thought if it came down to it, you wouldn't let the original loan go late. You didn't ask. We hadn't asked yet. Would you have? Yes. Or would you have come to my kitchen and told me 2 customers were slow? Her hand dropped. I know how that sounds. It sounds familiar. We weren't trying to use you. You made a payment plan that included my money without telling me. It would have been temporary. I closed the tailgate. Everything is temporary until I pay for it. She turned away. I softened my voice. Kayla, is Zach controlling the business account? We both have access. That wasn't the question. He makes the big decisions. Because you want him to? Because somebody has to. You signed the transfer. He told me the deal would be gone if I didn't. And you believed him? The seller had another buyer. Did you see that in writing? No. Did you speak to the seller? Zach did. I leaned against the truck. The problem was wider than a forged page. Their business was already short. The deposit had come from money needed to keep it running. If I stopped the amendment, the purchase failed. If their Monday payment failed too, I remained responsible under the original guarantee. Zachary had placed me in the same position he had used for years. Pay now, or watch Kayla suffer. Only this time, he had arranged it before I knew there was a shortage. Show me the account, I said. What? The business account. Show me what's due and what's available. I can't give you access. I didn't ask for access. Pull it up and show me. Zach would be furious. Then ask yourself why. She looked toward the street. I told you about the deposit. Isn't that enough? No, I'm not showing you private business records. That's your right. She seemed surprised that I agreed. I opened the truck door. What are you going to do about Monday? She asked. Nothing until you ask me directly. Her eyes narrowed. Would you help if I did? I didn't say that. Then what's the point? The point is you don't get to build my answer into your plans. A van turned into the lot. Zachary was driving. He parked at an angle behind my truck, blocking me from backing out. He climbed down and looked at the cart in my bed. You couldn't wait until the end of the day? No. His eyes moved from me to Kayla. What did you tell him? Nothing that wasn't true. What did you tell him? She looked at the ground. The deposit. He shut his eyes briefly. Then he faced me. That account is none of your business. You made it my business when you expected me to cover Monday. Kayla stepped back. Zachary stared at her. You told him about Monday too? I'm tired of lying. He pointed toward the office. Go inside. Don't talk to me like that. Inside, Kayla. She hesitated, then walked into the shop. I waited until the door closed. You brought a conservatorship petition to my house this morning, I said. His expression didn't change. And now you're taking equipment we need. You plan to have me declared incapable while counting on me to cover your loan. Nobody planned anything. We wanted you evaluated. Why? Because you're acting against your own daughter. My daughter just told me you moved the loan payment into your deposit. His jaw tightened. She had no right to discuss that. She owns the business with you. That doesn't mean she understands the timing. Then explain it to her. I don't answer to you. No. You only send me the bill. He stepped beside my window. You need to decide whose side you're on. This isn't about sides. It will be by Monday. He moved his van enough for me to leave. As I drove away, I saw Kayla standing behind the office glass. She had one hand against the window. Zachary went inside and pulled the blinds closed. At home, I unlocked the steel box and read the withdrawal again. Then I took out my copy of the original guarantee. Monday's payment belonged to the debt I had knowingly backed. The amendment did not. For the first time, keeping those two obligations separate would cost me something before it cost them. I left both documents on the workbench and went upstairs. Sunday morning, Kayla called before 8. She didn't ask whether I was busy. Can you make the city payment tomorrow? The question was direct. That mattered, even if the reason for it didn't. How much is the shortage? $2,640. Is that the whole payment? Yes. What about payroll? The invoices should cover it. Should? One customer promised Monday morning. And if that doesn't happen, we'll figure it out. Without me? She was quiet. Yes. I looked through the kitchen window. Rain had started during the night. Water ran down the glass in narrow lines. I'll pay the city directly, I said. Her breath came out all at once. Thank you. This is for the existing loan I knowingly guaranteed. It isn't approval of the amendment, I understand. Do you? Yes. Then say it back. She hesitated. You're covering the current payment. You're not agreeing to the new amount. That's right. Can I tell Zach? You can tell him exactly what I said. She lowered her voice. He wants us to meet today. Where? Your house. What time? 4. Bring the operating plan. I don't think that's what he wants to discuss. It's what I want to see. I'll tell him. Before she hung up, she said, Dad, I'm sorry about the folder. Which part? All of it. Did you plan to file that petition? No. Did Zach? I don't know. You brought it here. I know. That means you were willing to let me think he might. She didn't answer. At 9, I drove to City Hall and used the payment drop box near the main entrance. I put a check inside an envelope with the existing loan number and Kayla's business name. On the memo line, I wrote current installment only. The building was closed. No one saw me do it. I stood beside the box for a moment after the envelope dropped. $2,640 wasn't going to ruin me. I had the money. That wasn't why it hurt. For years, I had called these payments loans. I had notes, receipts, and dates. But a loan includes an expectation that the money comes back. What I had created was a system where Kayla could avoid asking until the last possible moment because she knew I would protect her. This time, she had asked directly. I gave her that much. I also knew I was paying for a shortage caused by a deposit I had told them not to make. The check protected the obligation I had signed in 2022. It also protected them from the immediate cost of what they had done. Both things were true. At home, I took the spare house key from beneath the flower pot near the side door. Kayla knew it was there. So did Zachary. I moved it into the steel box. Then I made a pot of coffee and waited. They arrived at 4:10 in Zachary's truck. Kayla carried a thin binder. Zachary carried nothing. He looked at the empty spot beneath the flower pot before they came inside. Where's the key? He asked. Put away. We use it to drop off paperwork. Call first. He glanced at Kayla. She sat at the kitchen table and placed the binder in front of me. This is what we have for the operating plan. I opened it. There was a cash flow sheet, a list of Mid-Iowa Mechanicals contracts, and a handwritten schedule for combining the two companies. It wasn't complete, but it was more than they had shown me before. I studied the revenue column. This assumes every current contract renews. Zachary pulled out a chair. The seller has good relationships. You still haven't spoken to the property manager. The seller did. You're buying his business, not his word. He leaned forward. We didn't come here so you could pick this apart. Then why did you bring it? Kayla said. Because he asked? Zachary looked at her. I know why it's here. I turned another page. There was no allowance for replacing the two high-mileage vans. Equipment repair costs dropped by half after the acquisition, though they had been rising. Why do repair costs go down? Efficiency, Zachary said. What changes? We'll have more equipment, older equipment. We can spread it across more jobs. That doesn't make it younger. He pushed his chair back. This is exactly what I mean. You decide something is bad, then every number becomes evidence. I asked what changes. You wouldn't understand the full operation. I understand worn equipment. You understand residential service calls. I closed the binder. I've been doing commercial HVAC work longer than you've been in the trade, not at this scale. Kayla put both hands around her coffee cup. Can we talk about the document? I looked at her. Yes, Zachary said. There's nothing to talk about. The city accepted it. I didn't. The notarization establishes that it was signed. It establishes that someone stamped it. Careful. Why? Because you're accusing a professional of misconduct now. I said I never signed. You could have signed and forgotten. Kayla's head came up. Zach. What? That's one possibility. No, it isn't, I said. He turned to her. This is why we need to keep the story straight. The room went still. Kayla stared at him. What story? I asked. He picked up his coffee but didn't drink. The sequence. You agreed to support the business. The paperwork was completed. Now you're backing out. I never agreed to the amendment. You said you'd look at the plan. That isn't consent. You've guaranteed us for 4 years. That isn't consent either. He looked at Kayla. Tell him. She rubbed her thumb along the cup handle. Dad, I handled the signature. I waited. What does that mean? I made sure the page was completed. Did you sign my name? I handled it. That's the same phrase twice. I don't know what you want me to say. The truth. I'm telling you what happened. No, you're choosing words. Zachary reached across the table and put his hand over hers. Don't let him twist this. She pulled her hand away. I'm not. He looked at me. You hear what you want. Kayla handled paperwork. That doesn't mean she forged anything. I didn't use that word with her. You used it with me. Because my name was copied. You don't know that. I know I didn't write it. Kayla stood and carried her cup to the sink. Again, she turned on the faucet without needing water. I watched her shoulders. Where was the page notarized? I asked. At an office, she said. Whose office? I don't remember. You went there. I said I handled the paperwork. Did I go with you? No. Zachary stood. That's enough. No, I said. It isn't. She answered you. She said I wasn't there. That doesn't prove anything. Documents can be acknowledged later, not if the notary is saying I personally appeared. You're not a lawyer, neither are you. He picked up the binder. Are you going to sign a clean replacement page? No. Kayla turned off the faucet. Even after seeing the plan, I saw why you didn't show it earlier. Her face tightened. We could improve it, then improve it for your own use. I'm not guaranteeing the amendment. Zachary held the binder against his side. The city already has a valid document. No, it has a document with my name. You're splitting hairs. That hair is $160,000. He looked at the front window, then back at me. You made the payment this morning? Yes. So you admit the loan is your responsibility. The existing guarantee is my responsibility if you fail to pay. The amendment isn't. You can't separate them when it suits you. I just did. Kayla turned from the sink. What are you going to tell Carolyn? I already told her I didn't sign. I mean, next. That depends on what you do. Zachary laughed quietly. So, this is leverage. It's a boundary. Same thing when money is involved. I thought about the steel box downstairs. The withdrawal sat inside it, signed and dated. Neither of them knew. I gave you both a chance to correct the city file, I said. We don't need to correct it, Zachary replied. Kayla looked at him. He continued. The amendment is notarized. The committee can rely on it. If Steve wants to create a public dispute, that's his choice. Don't call me Steve when you're talking about me in my own kitchen. His face reddened. Fine. Stephen wants to make this public. Stephen can explain why he's destroying his daughter's future over a technicality, Kayla whispered. Stop. But he didn't. You think people are going to admire this? You think the city's going to look at a man who's supported a loan for years, then suddenly claims he doesn't remember signing an amendment, and decide he's the reasonable one? I remember not signing. Prove it. The words came out quickly. He seemed to realize that after he said them. I stood. The meeting is over. Kayla reached for her purse. Dad, you can stay if you're ready to answer. She looked at Zachary. He held the front door open. Come on. She remained beside the table. For a few seconds, I could see the choice moving across her face. Then she picked up her purse. At the door, she removed the house key from her ring. It was the one I had given her after Linda died. She placed it on the counter. If you cancel this deal, Zach says he's done. With the business, with us. I looked at the key. Is that what you say? She didn't answer. Zachary called from the porch. Kayla. She walked out. I watched them leave through the front window. She sat in the passenger seat without looking back. My phone rang 10 minutes later. Carolyn's number appeared. The payment box was processed, she said. I wanted you to know the existing installment is current. Thank you. We also received a request from Mr. Hayes for an expedited review of the amendment file. Because I reported the signature, he says your objection is the result of confusion and family conflict. What happens now? I've kept the amendment on Thursday's agenda. The committee needs a clear record before it acts. Does my withdrawal condition still apply? Yes. Has any money been released? No. Good. Mr. Barnett, if you intend to withdraw before the packet deadline, tomorrow at noon is still the cutoff. I looked at the clock. It was almost 6 on Sunday. And if I don't, then the advertised meeting proceeds Thursday. I understand. After the call, I carried Kayla's key downstairs. I opened the steel box but didn't put the key inside right away. Until that afternoon, I had been trying to find a way to stop the false paper without humiliating my daughter. I had paid the current installment. I had asked her privately. I had given her room to correct the record. She had chosen the story Zachary told her to keep straight. That changed what I wanted. I wasn't trying to save them from embarrassment anymore. I was going to end the belief that my responsibility belonged to them. I placed her key beside the withdrawal and locked the box. Monday morning, I arrived at Carolyn's office before 9. I carried 2 envelopes. One held the withdrawal. The other held a signed statement saying I had not signed the amended guarantee, had not authorized anyone to sign it, and would attend Thursday's meeting. I kept the withdrawal in my jacket pocket. Carolyn read the statement without speaking. This will become part of the committee packet, she said. That's what I want. Mr. Hayes will receive the packet. I understand. He'll know you're contesting the amendment. He already knows. Will he know about the withdrawal? I'm not submitting it today. She removed her glasses. May I ask why? If I withdraw now, the amendment disappears from the agenda. Yes. Then they'll tell themselves I ruined the deal without giving them a chance. Would the meeting change that? It might change what they can deny. Carolyn studied the page again. The committee isn't a court. It won't decide who copied a signature. I'm not asking it to. What are you asking? I want the record to show I appeared in person and said the consent wasn't mine. I want the acknowledgement clarified. After that, I'll make my decision. She looked toward the filing cabinet. I can ask the notary to be available during the meeting. Would she have to come? No. She may appear voluntarily or answer by phone. Her role would be limited to explaining the acknowledgement. That's enough. I also need your permission to provide her with your contact information. You can give her my name and tell her I'll be at the meeting. Don't give her my home number. Carolyn nodded. Fair. She made a copy of my statement and stamped the original with the date and time. Then she handed the copy back. The stamp was a small thing, but it mattered. For the first time, my version existed somewhere Kayla and Zachary couldn't edit. I want the phone number corrected too, I said. On the guarantor contact page? Yes. Use my number, no messages through the business. She updated the record while I watched. Is email acceptable? I'll give you mine. She entered it and turned the monitor slightly so I could check the spelling. Any informal contact about your guarantee will come directly to you, she said. What about disbursement? There can't be a disbursement before committee action. The file is also flagged for direct verification, meaning staff will contact you before any amended closing. That's standard after a disputed authorization. It is now required for this file. The plan had worked once. They had tried to place Kayla between me and the city. Now the city would come to me. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt late. Carolyn placed the amended file into a red folder. The packet will be distributed afternoon. I'll be there Thursday. She walked me to the hallway. Keep whatever you're carrying secure, she said. I touched the envelope through my jacket. I will. My first job was a compressor inspection at a small grocery store. I spent most of the morning on the roof. The wind kept lifting the corners of my service sheet, so I held it down with a screwdriver. At 11:40, Kayla called. I let it go to voicemail. She called again at noon. This time, she left a message. Dad, Carolyn emailed Zach that the packet changed. What did you submit? I finished checking the amperage before I listened again. Her voice sounded tired, not angry. I called her back from inside my truck. I submitted a statement for the committee. What statement? That I didn't sign the amendment. Why would you put that in the packet? Because it's true. You already told Carolyn. Now the committee will know. Zach says you're trying to embarrass us. I'm correcting the record. You could have done that privately. I gave you that chance yesterday. I told you what happened. You said you handled it. That's what happened. Then you can explain those words. Thursday. She went quiet. You expect me to speak at the meeting? I expect you to decide whether you're going to keep supporting a false document. Dad, that room is public. So was the loan application. That's different. The city was asked to rely on my name. I'm allowed to answer. I heard a door close near her. Did you withdraw? She asked. No. The answer was true. Are you going to? I haven't submitted a withdrawal. That isn't what I asked. It's the answer I'm giving, she breathed out. Zach is going to think you're planning something. He should plan to tell the truth. This isn't a game. I know. She ended the call. A minute later, Zachary sent me a message. If you damage the acquisition with false claims, you'll be responsible for the loss. I read it twice, then took a screenshot. I didn't answer. At 2, Carolyn emailed my copy of the committee packet. My statement appeared immediately behind the amendment. The meeting notice listed the item as an amendment with disputed guarantor authorization. There was no accusation, no dramatic language, just a plain description. That was enough to change the shape of the meeting. Until then, Zachary had been presenting a completed financing package. Now he would have to explain why the supposed guarantor denied signing. My next call was at an apartment building with a clogged condensate drain. While I worked, my phone rang several times. Zachary left 2 messages. In the first, he said I had misunderstood their intentions. In the second, he said I was interfering with a valid business agreement. The shift happened in less than an hour. First I was confused. Then I was interfering. By 5, I was back in my driveway. A plastic storage crate sat beside the garage door. Inside were the tubing expander, combustion analyzer, and cordless press tool. The tools were dirty, but they were there. A folded note rested on top. You wanted your things. Now stop acting like we owe you access to ours. There was no name beneath it. I carried the crate into the garage and checked each tool. The press tool battery was almost dead. The analyzer needed calibration. The expander had a cracked handle. All 3 belonged to me again. I put them on the workbench and took photographs of their condition. Then I made an inventory of every remaining item I had loaned to the business. There were fewer than I expected. The rolling cart and major tools were back. A ladder, 2 hand tools, and a refrigerant scale remained. I sent Kayla 1 message. Thank you for returning these. Please leave the ladder, hand tools, and scale by Wednesday evening. She replied almost immediately. I didn't write that note. I looked at the folded paper again. Did Zach? I asked. Her typing indicator appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, she wrote, yes. I placed the note with my photographs. It didn't prove anything about the guarantee. It did confirm the problem between them. Kayla was still telling me small truths only after Zachary acted. I called her. She answered quietly. Are you at home? I asked. No. At the shop? I'm in the parking lot behind the grocery store. Why? I needed a minute. I sat on the edge of my workbench. Did Zach send the tools back because of my statement? He said, if you want to separate everything, we should make you feel what that means. What does it mean to you? That I'm stuck between my husband and my father. You signed a transfer that left the business short. You carried a conservatorship petition to my house. You told the city I was too unwell to attend a meeting. I know. That isn't being stuck in the middle. Those were choices. I was trying to keep him from walking away. Why would he walk away? Because he said if we lost Mid-Iowa Mechanical, it would prove I never believed in him. Do you? I believe he can run it. That wasn't my question. She didn't speak for several seconds. No, she said. Not the way he's doing this. It was the first clear answer she had given me. What do you want to do? I asked. I don't know. That's honest. He'll blame me if the deal fails. He may. You say that like it's easy. It isn't. What are you going to do Thursday? I'm going to tell the truth about my consent. And after that, I'll decide after the acknowledgement is explained. Her breathing stopped for a moment. What acknowledgement? The notary's? You asked Carolyn to contact Marie? I hadn't used the notary's first name. I stood. How do you know her name? It's on the page. You told me you didn't remember whose office you went to. I didn't remember the office. You remember Marie. I saw the stamp later. When? I have to go. Kayla. Zach just pulled into the lot. Answer one thing. Did you meet Marie? The call ended. I stared at the phone. Kayla had finally given me a useful truth. She didn't trust the way Zachary was handling the business. But the moment I mentioned the acknowledgement, she had known exactly who I meant. My statement had forced the issue into daylight. It had also shown them where I was looking. A few minutes later, Zachary called. I answered. You contacted the notary, he said. Carolyn did. Why? Because I wasn't present when that page was acknowledged. You don't know what she'll say. Neither do you. He laughed softly. Don't be so sure. What does that mean? It means you filed your little statement. Fine. We'll file ours. What statement? You'll see. He hung up. I opened the steel box and checked the withdrawal. It was still there. Then I checked the committee packet again. My name, my denial, and the disputed authorization were now part of a public agenda item. The plan had given me direct access and a clear record. It had also given Zachary 3 days to attack the man making the denial. Tuesday morning, Carolyn called while I was loading filters into my truck. Mr. Hayes submitted supplemental material, she said. What kind? A written response to your statement and a copy of a court filing. I stopped with one hand on the truck door. What court filing? A petition for appointment of a conservator. The folder from my kitchen had become real. Who filed it? Kayla Hayes and Zachary Hayes are listed as petitioners. Has anything been decided? No. A petition is only a request. It doesn't change your authority or capacity. Then why is it in the loan file? Mr. Hayes submitted it to support his claim that your denial may be connected to financial confusion. He filed it yesterday? The court stamp says yesterday afternoon. That was after Kayla had admitted she didn't trust the way Zachary was handling the business. What does their statement say? I can send you a copy. Read me the part about the signature. Carolyn paused while she found the page. They state that you had previously expressed support for the acquisition, that the guarantee was completed with your knowledge, and that your later denial reflects increasing confusion and hostility toward family assistance. Do they say they saw me sign? No. Do they say where I signed? No. Do they say I met the notary? No. That still mattered. They had attacked my ability to remember, but they had not put a specific false event on paper. Will the committee receive this? It was submitted in response to your statement. I'm required to include it as supplemental material, so everyone at the meeting will see a petition claiming I can't handle my finances. Yes. Can I respond? You may submit a response or speak at the meeting. If I submit the withdrawal today, does the meeting come off the agenda? The packet deadline passed. The item has already been advertised and distributed. The committee would still convene, but staff could recommend cancellation based on the withdrawal. Before the acknowledgement is explained, that depends on how the chair handles the agenda. I paced beside the truck. Has the notary agreed to participate? I contacted her office. She said she'll come Thursday. That was useful, but Carolyn's tone remained careful. I haven't asked her for a detailed account, she continued. She'll clarify the acknowledgement in the meeting. Did you send her my photograph? No. Did she ask for one? No. Has she spoken to Kayla or Zachary since you called? I can't know that. Zachary had said I didn't know what Marie would say. If he thought he had control over her, I needed to let him believe it. I'm not submitting the withdrawal today, I said. Then keep it secure. I will. After the call, I opened Carolyn's email. The petition was 19 pages. Most were standard forms. The actual claims took less than 2 pages. They said I had become isolated after Linda's death. That part was true. They said Kayla had taken over my mail and phone account because I couldn't manage routine bills. That was false. She had helped put accounts online. The bills had always been paid. They said I had recently become suspicious and removed her access without reason. They described my demand for the tools as an impulsive act that harmed the family business. They mentioned my payment of $2,640 as evidence that I understood the loan was my responsibility, while denying the amendment connected to it. They had turned every useful thing I'd done into evidence against me. Near the end was a sentence saying I had probably signed the amended guarantee and later forgotten. Probably. Kayla's signature appeared beneath the statement. I enlarged it on my phone. Hers was quick and familiar. I had seen it on birthday cards and service receipts for years. She had signed this one herself. A customer was expecting me at 8. I put the phone away and drove to the job. The furnace was in the basement of a small insurance office. The inducer motor made a grinding sound as soon as it started. I removed it, carried it to my truck, and found the replacement in a parts bin. My hands knew what to do. Disconnect the wiring, mark the pressure tube, remove the screws, transfer the gasket. Halfway through, I realized I had installed the gasket backward. I hadn't done that in years. I took everything apart and started again. The mistake cost me 20 minutes. No one saw it, but it unsettled me. That was the damage Zachary was counting on. Once somebody puts confusion into the room, every ordinary mistake begins to look like proof. I finished the repair, tested the furnace twice, and wrote the readings on the ticket. Before leaving, I photographed the completed work and the instrument display. I had never photographed routine readings before. By lunchtime, I had checked my wallet 3 times for the withdrawal envelope, even though it was still locked in the steel box at home. The petition hadn't taken any authority from me. It had taken something quieter. I no longer trusted that people would accept a simple answer from me without supporting evidence. At 1:30, Kayla called. I answered from a parking lot. "You signed it?" I said. She didn't pretend not to understand. Zach said it would pause everything. It didn't. He said the city would have to wait until the court reviewed your capacity. He was wrong. Carolyn told him the petition would be included. That isn't the same as stopping me. I know that now. Did you read it before you signed? Yes. Do you believe I can't manage my finances? No. Do you believe I signed the amendment and forgot? I don't know. Yes, you do. I wasn't there when you supposedly signed. Exactly. She started crying quietly. I could hear her wiping her nose. Did Zach write the claims? We did them together. Which parts were yours? The mail, the phone account, after Mom died. You told a court you took over because I couldn't pay bills. I said you were overwhelmed. The petition says unable to manage routine obligations. That was the wording on the form. You signed the wording. I was trying to buy time. For what? For the committee to approve the deal. You filed a court petition against me to keep a loan moving. Zach said we could withdraw it after Thursday. I looked through my windshield at an empty shopping cart rolling slowly across the lot. So, it was temporary paperwork. She stopped crying. I know how it sounds. That's because I've heard it before. Dad, I'm scared. Of me? Of what happens if we lose this? What does Zach say will happen? He says the deposit is gone. The seller will go to the other buyer. The city could review our existing loan. The technicians might leave. And your marriage? She didn't answer. Did he threaten to leave? He said he can't stay married to someone who lets her father control her life. Do you think I control you? No. You signed the petition. I know. Did he force your hand onto the paper? No. That answer cost her. I heard it. What are you asking me to do now? I said. Don't go Thursday. Why? If you aren't there, Carolyn says the committee may still accept the notarized document, so you want them to rely on it. I want time. The seller's condition expires when the meeting adjourns. I know. You don't want time. You want the meeting to end with my name still attached. She began crying again. I don't know how to fix this. Correct the city file. I can't. You can. Zach will leave. That's his choice. You say everything is a choice when you don't have to live with it. I'm living with a court petition carrying my daughter's signature. She went silent. I continued. I paid the existing installment because I agreed to the guarantee. I'm not paying for the acquisition. I'm not repairing the paperwork. I'm not missing the meeting. If you go, I can't sit with you. I didn't ask you to. The line stayed quiet for several seconds. Then she said, "Maybe we shouldn't talk for a while, if that's what you want. You're not even going to fight me on that?" "No, that's cold." "No, Kayla, it's direct." She ended the call. I sat in the truck until my next appointment time. At home that evening, I found the remaining tools beside the garage. The ladder was against the wall. The scale and hand tools were in a cardboard box. Kayla's old key rested on top, though I had already placed the same key in the steel box. Sunday. I picked it up and compared it with the one downstairs. They were identical. I had forgotten that I'd made her 2 copies, one for her purse and one for the business key ring. The discovery frightened me for about 10 seconds. Then I remembered the hardware store trip. I had bought both copies at once. Linda had still been alive. Kayla was helping us during a week when Linda was weak from treatment. There was nothing wrong with my memory. I had simply forgotten an ordinary detail from years earlier. Still, the petition made the detail feel dangerous. I carried both keys to a locksmith on Wednesday morning and had the side door cylinder changed. The front door had a different lock, and Kayla had returned that key Sunday. The locksmith handed me 3 new keys and a receipt. When I came home, Zachary's truck was parked across the street. He watched me test the new lock. "You're proving our case," he called. I turned toward him. "By changing a lock? By cutting off your own family? You filed a petition against me to protect Kayla. From what? You." He crossed the street. "Withdraw your statement. Tell Carolyn you were confused. We'll drop the petition." "No. You're willing to go through a capacity hearing? If you keep the petition active, you know what people will think. Yes. Your customers too, your suppliers, everybody who trusts you inside their homes. That was the price he wanted me to see. The petition could follow me beyond City Hall. Even if it failed, the accusation might remain." "You should leave," I said. He glanced at the new lock. "Thursday is your last chance to act like her father. I'll be there." He walked back to his truck. I waited until he drove away, then went downstairs. I unlocked the steel box and removed the withdrawal. I read each line and checked the loan number against the certified notice. Using it would end the amendment. It would cost Kayla the acquisition, the deposit, and possibly her marriage. Refusing to use it would leave my consent available whenever they needed it next. I placed the withdrawal inside the folder I would carry to City Hall. Then I accepted that Kayla might sit across the room from me and never come back to my house. The night before the meeting, I spread every document across my workbench. I put them in order. The certified notice came first. Behind it, I placed my copy of the amended guarantee, the contact log, my stamped statement, and the standard program conditions. The withdrawal went last. I read it aloud. "My name is Stephen Barnett. I withdraw any guarantor consent connected to the proposed amendment of $160,000. This withdrawal is made before disbursement and does not alter my obligations under the original guarantee." The loan number followed, then my signature and the date. It was clear. Still, I didn't want to discover a missing word while standing in the committee chamber. I called Carolyn. She answered from her office. "I'm sorry to call this late." "You're fine. I'm still here. I need to verify something." "Go ahead. If I hand you my withdrawal during the meeting before the committee adjourns, is it effective then? If no amended funds have been disbursed, yes. Have any been disbursed? No. Has anyone scheduled a closing? Staff has prepared for one, but it can't occur without committee action. So, the condition is still available. Yes. Can Zachary stop me from using it? No. Can the petition stop me? Not by itself. No court has entered any order affecting your legal authority. Can the committee refuse the withdrawal because it dislikes the timing? No. It isn't a request for the committee's approval. I looked at the paper in front of me. Would you read the wording? I can confirm whether it identifies the correct loan and clearly states your decision. I can't write it for you. That's all I'm asking. I read it again, including the loan number. Carolyn checked the file. The number is correct. The language clearly withdraws consent to the amendment before disbursement. That removed the last uncertainty. What happens the moment I give it to you? I date stamp it. Staff records the withdrawal. The amendment loses a required condition. And the existing loan continues under its current terms. I don't want the existing loan accelerated or canceled because of me. That isn't what your letter requests. I paid the current installment. I want that recorded too. It is. Good. Carolyn paused. Mr. Hayes submitted another message this afternoon. What did he ask for? He requested that the committee postpone any decision about your consent until the capacity petition is resolved. Can it do that? It can postpone the amendment. It can't preserve consent you withdraw. He knows the seller won't wait. I believe that's why he's asking the committee to rely on the notarized document instead. What did Kayla submit? Nothing new. Will Marie be there? She confirmed. Has she seen anything about the petition? I sent her only the amended guarantee and the request to clarify her acknowledgement. Thank you. One more thing, Carolyn said. The meeting is public. The petition and the disputed signature may be discussed. I understand. You can still submit the withdrawal before the meeting. Staff would explain that the amendment can't proceed. The committee might not need testimony. The notarized page would remain unexplained. It would remain in the file with your denial. And Zachary's statement would remain there saying, I forgot. Yes. Then I'll attend. After we hung up, I returned the papers to the folder. There was a bottle of bourbon in the cabinet above the basement sink. Linda had bought it for my 60th birthday, even though she wasn't there to see me turn 60. Kayla found it in a box of gifts Linda had prepared before she died. I had opened it once and put it away. That night, I poured one glass. I didn't raise it or say anything. I sat at the workbench and drank slowly while looking at the locked steel box. The house made its usual sounds. The refrigerator came on upstairs. Water moved through a pipe. A car passed on the wet street. When the glass was empty, I washed it and returned it to the cabinet. Then I locked the folder inside the steel box and went to bed. At 6 the next morning, I woke to a message from Zachary. We can end this today. Tell Carolyn the signature dispute was a misunderstanding. We withdraw the petition. You stay home. Everyone keeps their dignity. I didn't answer. At 6:20, another message came. If you walk into that meeting, Kayla will know you chose strangers over your own family. I took a screenshot and added it to the folder. At 7, I made eggs and toast. I ate at the kitchen table and read the morning paper. I didn't absorb much of it, but I finished breakfast. The meeting wasn't until late afternoon. I had 2 service calls scheduled before lunch. I considered canceling them, then decided against it. The first was a thermostat replacement. The second was a rooftop unit making a rattling noise. The rooftop problem was a loose fan guard. I tightened it and checked the bearings. The unit ran quietly. I photographed the readings again. That habit might stay with me for a while. When I climbed down, Kayla was standing beside my truck. She had parked near the loading dock. Her arms were folded against the wind. How did you know where I was? I asked. The shop calendar still has some of your overflow jobs. I didn't know Zach had access to that. You gave him the schedule last winter. I'll change it. Her face tightened. Do you have to lock every door now? Only the ones somebody keeps opening. She looked toward the building. Can we talk? I have another appointment at noon. This won't take long. I put my ladder onto the truck rack and secured it. What do you need? I need to know if you've already stopped the amendment. No? Do you have something that can? I checked the ladder strap. You know the program conditions. Her eyes moved to my truck cab. Is it in there? No. Dad, I'm not discussing what I'm carrying to the meeting. You told Carolyn you were waiting for Marie. Yes. What do you think she's going to say? I don't know. She notarized the page. That's what the stamp says. Then what are you expecting? The truth. Kayla looked at the ground. Marie made a mistake. It was the closest she had come to naming anything. What mistake? She shouldn't have let us bring the page in. Us? She looked up too quickly. I mean the business. Was Zachary with you? I'm not doing this in a parking lot. You came to the parking lot. She rubbed her forehead. If Marie says something wrong, she could lose her commission. That's between Marie and the rules she agreed to follow. You don't care what happens to anybody. That isn't true. You're willing to destroy the deal. You're willing to embarrass me. You're willing to get a woman in trouble over one stamp. I didn't ask her to stamp anything. She was trying to help. Who? Kayla turned away. I waited. She walked several steps, then came back. Zach says we can challenge anything you do until the court reviews you. He can challenge it. He says the city will be afraid to act. Carolyn confirmed the rule. What rule? I didn't answer. Her eyes stayed on mine. You found something in the original conditions. I read the file. What did you find? You should ask Zachary. He initialed every page. She pulled out her phone and began typing. I opened the truck door. Please don't tell him I came here, she said. Why not? He'll say I warned you. Did you? No. Then what did you do? I wanted to see if you'd already made the decision. I made my decision when you refused to correct the file. Her phone lowered. Does that mean you're ending it? It means I won't let the city use my consent. She stared at me. You know he'll blame me. Yes. You could tell him this was all your choice. It is my choice. No, I mean, tell him I didn't have anything to do with it. Is that true? Her mouth opened, but no words came. I won't lie for either of you, I said. She stepped away from the truck. If the marriage ends, I don't know where I'll go. You own part of the business. You have income. You have choices. That isn't the same as having somewhere to go. My house is not a hiding place from the truth. Her face changed. I continued before I could soften it. If you leave him because you're ready to take responsibility for your own decisions, you can call me. If you want me to rescue you while you keep his story together, don't. She wiped her eyes. That sounds like Mom. No, your mother would have said it better. For the first time in days, Kayla almost smiled. It disappeared quickly. I have to go. So do I. She walked to her car. Before getting in, she turned. I'm going to tell the truth if they ask me directly. Decide what that means before you sit down. She drove away. I changed the password to the shared work calendar from my phone. Then I finished my last appointment. At 1:30, I returned home, showered, and put on clean work pants, a white shirt, and my dark jacket. I considered wearing a suit. I owned one, but it would have made me feel as if I were pretending to be somebody else. I carried the folder downstairs one final time. The withdrawal condition did one thing. It removed my consent. It didn't prove who copied my name. It didn't undo the petition. It didn't make Kayla honest or Zachary reasonable. That was why I trusted it. It did only what the city had written it to do. Before leaving, I removed the photographs of damaged tools, Zachary's note, and the screenshots of his messages. I placed them back inside the steel box. I could have carried all of it into the meeting. I could have shown every demand, every threat, and every item they returned broken. I could have asked the committee to examine the existing loan and every payment they had missed. That would have widened the damage. I needed the committee to address one false consent and one amendment. Nothing more. I locked the box. At City Hall, the parking spaces along West State Street were nearly full. I found a place half a block away and walked toward the entrance. The folder stayed under my left arm. Inside, a printed agenda pointed visitors toward the loan committee chamber. I followed the hallway and stopped outside the open door. Kayla and Zachary were already seated together near the front. Zachary turned, saw me, and smiled as if I had arrived exactly where he wanted me. I walked past him and took a chair across the aisle. Kayla looked over her shoulder. Her face was pale. She started to speak, but Zachary touched her arm. Let him sit, he said. The chamber was smaller than I expected. 2 rows of chairs faced a long table. A city seal hung on the wall. Carolyn sat at one end with the red loan folder open in front of her. A few members of the public had come for other items. No reporters, no crowd waiting for a family fight. That helped. I placed my folder on my lap and kept one hand over it. At 4:30, the committee chair called the meeting to order. The first 2 items were routine. One business requested extra time to complete repairs. Another asked to change an equipment supplier. I listened, but I kept noticing Zachary's right foot. It moved up and down beneath his chair. Kayla held both hands together. When their item was called, Zachary stood immediately. Kayla followed half a second later. Carolyn read the request. The borrowers seek an amendment of $160,000 to support the acquisition of Mid-Iowa Mechanical. The amendment requires continued guarantor consent before disbursement. The file contains a notarized amended guarantee and a later written denial from the named guarantor. The chair looked toward Zachary. Mr. Hayes, you asked to address the denial? Yes. He walked to the table, carrying the operating plan binder. He wore a dark suit I had only seen at weddings and funerals. "This is a family misunderstanding," he said. "Mr. Barnett has supported our company from the beginning. He reviewed this purchase with us and agreed that expansion was the right move." The chair looked at me. "Mr. Barnett, you'll have a chance to respond." I nodded. Zachary opened the binder. "The business plan shows enough income to support both the existing loan and the amendment. Our guarantor knew the deadline. The paperwork was completed so the city could keep the application moving." A committee member asked, "Were you present when Mr. Barnett signed?" Zachary didn't pause. The document was signed outside our office. Kayla handled that part because he wasn't feeling well. Kayla looked at him. The member asked, "So, you did not witness the signature?" "No, but my wife did." That was new. Kayla's head turned slowly. Zachary continued before anyone could ask her. "The important point is that the signature was acknowledged by a commissioned notary. Mr. Barnett changed his position after a family disagreement about business equipment. We believe that disagreement is affecting his memory of events. He had committed to the whole story now. Not only that, I had agreed. Not only that the page was valid, he had placed Kayla beside me as a witness." Carolyn opened the red folder. The supplemental material also includes a pending conservatorship petition. Zachary nodded. "We didn't file that lightly. Over the past several weeks, Mr. Barnett has become suspicious, withdrawn access from his daughter, and taken tools from our operating business without warning." "They were mine," I said. The chair held up one hand. "You'll have your turn, Mr. Barnett." I sat back. Zachary looked at me, then faced the committee again. "We want to protect him. We also want to protect the company and the employees who depend on us. Delaying this acquisition because of one confused objection would cause serious harm." Kayla whispered, "Zach." He ignored her. "The city has a notarized guarantee. That should be enough." The chair turned to Kayla. "Mrs. Hayes, did you witness your father sign the amended guarantee?" She looked at Zachary. He gave a small nod. Kayla faced the committee. "I handled the document. That doesn't answer the question." She gripped the edge of the table. "I brought the page where it needed to go." "Did you see your father write his signature?" Her mouth opened. Zachary spoke over her. "She was in and out of his house several times that week." The chair looked at him. "I asked Mrs. Hayes." Kayla stared down at the binder. "I don't remember the exact moment. I heard someone in the back row shift in a chair." Zachary touched her elbow. "She's been under enormous pressure." Carolyn spoke. "The city asked the notary named in the acknowledgement to attend for one limited purpose. We need clarification about the circumstances of the acknowledgement." The chamber door opened. Marie Fuentes walked in carrying a narrow black notebook. She wore a green sweater and dark slacks. She stopped near Carolyn's end of the table. Zachary turned toward her and smiled. "Marie, thank you for coming." Marie didn't smile back. Carolyn gestured toward an empty chair. "You may sit, Ms. Fuentes." "I'd rather stand." "All right." Carolyn removed the amended guarantee from the file. "Is this your notary stamp?" Marie leaned forward. "Yes." "Is the signature in the acknowledgement yours?" "Yes." "Did you record the notarization in your journal?" Marie held up the black notebook. "I did." Carolyn nodded. "Please open to that entry." Marie found the page. The room was quiet enough that I could hear the paper turn. "Does the entry identify Stephen Barnett as the person whose signature you acknowledged?" "Yes." "Does it contain a form of identification?" Marie looked at the journal. "It lists an Iowa driver's license." "Did you write the license number?" "No, I wrote the type only." "Did you examine Mr. Barnett's driver's license?" Marie's eyes moved from Carolyn to the committee. Then she looked around the chamber. "Which one is Mr. Barnett?" No one answered immediately. I stood. "I am." She stared at me. The color left her face. "I've never seen you before." Zachary turned fully around. Marie looked at Carolyn. "That's not the man who came to my office." The chair leaned forward. "Who came to your office?" Marie looked at Kayla. She did. Every face turned toward my daughter. Kayla closed her eyes. Carolyn kept her voice level. "Was Mr. Barnett present?" "No." "Did you speak with him by phone or video?" "No." "Had you met him at any earlier time?" "No. I had never met him until he stood up just now." Zachary stepped toward the table. "Marie, you don't need to speculate. I'm not speculating." You knew the signature was his. I knew what Kayla told me. Carolyn asked, "What did she tell you?" Marie opened her journal again. She said her father was sick at home. She said he had signed the page but couldn't come in. She brought the document already signed. Did you witness that signature? No. Did you receive a direct acknowledgement from Mr. Barnett? No. Then why did you complete the certificate saying he personally appeared? Marie's hand tightened around the journal. Kayla was upset. She said there was a deadline. I had notarized business papers for her before. I thought I was helping her finish something her father had already approved. Kayla began crying without making a sound. Marie continued, "I should have refused. He wasn't there." The chair looked at Carolyn. "Does the journal contain a signature from Mr. Barnett?" "No," Marie said before Carolyn could answer. "I didn't require one. Does it contain a copy of his identification?" "No." Then the driver's license entry came from where? Kayla had a photocopy. I thought of the borrower copy of the original guarantee sitting at their shop. My signature and identifying information had traveled together. Carolyn turned to Kayla. "Mrs. Hayes, did you bring that photocopy?" Kayla nodded. The chair said, "Please answer aloud." "Yes." "Where did the signature on the amendment come from?" Zachary moved closer to her. "You don't have to answer that." Kayla looked at him. For the first time, she stepped away when he reached for her arm. "I do," she said. Then she faced me. "I copied it from the first guarantee." The words were quiet, but everyone heard them. My hand stayed on the folder. "You wrote it?" I asked. "Yes." "Did Zachary tell you to?" She wiped her face. "He said the city only needed the page completed. He said you would sign a replacement after the committee approved everything." "That isn't what I asked." She looked at him, then back at me. "He told me to keep the deal moving. I chose to copy it." Zachary shook his head. "No. You told me your father agreed. I told you he wanted the operating plan. You said he always comes through. I was scared you'd blame me if we lost the purchase. You did this without telling me." Kayla stared at him. "You handed the packet to the city because you said it was handled. You knew Dad hadn't signed." He pointed toward her. "That is not true." She didn't look away. "You said the notary stamp made it usable." Zachary turned to the committee. "This is becoming a marital argument. It has nothing to do with the financial strength of the acquisition. It has everything to do with the guarantor condition," Carolyn said. Marie closed her journal. "I've answered what I was asked." The chair nodded. "Thank you for appearing." Marie looked at me once. "I'm sorry, Mr. Barnett." I didn't answer. She left the chamber with the journal held against her chest. The door closed behind her. Carolyn returned the amended guarantee to the red folder. "Mr. Barnett, you submitted a written denial. Do you wish to address the committee?" I stood and carried my folder to the table. "Yes." I removed one page. "I knowingly guaranteed the original starter loan. I made its current payment this week. I didn't sign this amendment, and I never gave anyone permission to sign for me." Zachary said, "You told us you'd help." The chair looked at him. "Mr. Hayes, let him finish." I placed the withdrawal in front of Carolyn. "The standard conditions allow me to withdraw consent before amended funds are disbursed. I'm doing that now." Carolyn read the page. She checked the loan number, then looked at the clock. "Have any amended funds been released?" the chair asked. "No." "Does this meet the withdrawal condition?" "Yes." Carolyn took a date stamp from beside the file. She pressed it onto the bottom of my letter. The sound was small. Zachary stepped forward. "You can't accept that while his capacity is being challenged." Carolyn looked at him. "There is no order removing Mr. Barnett's authority. The program condition does not require borrower approval. We have a notarized guarantee. The notary just disclaimed the acknowledgement. The committee can postpone. The withdrawal is already effective." The chair spoke. "Without guarantor consent, does the amendment meet program requirements?" "No," Carolyn said. "Then the amendment is canceled." Zachary gripped the back of a chair. The seller's deadline runs through adjournment. Carolyn closed the red folder. The city financing condition is no longer in place. "What about the deposit?" Kayla asked. Carolyn shook her head. "That is controlled by your purchase agreement, not the city." Zachary stared at the agenda. The meeting had already begun. The deposit had become non-refundable when their item was called. With the amendment canceled, the financing condition failed. He knew it before anyone said it. We lose $25,000, he said. Kayla sat down. The chair asked if the committee had any remaining business on the item. No one spoke. He marked the amendment canceled, moved to the next agenda item, and a few minutes later, adjourned the meeting. The acquisition expired in that room. For several seconds, nobody moved. Then Zachary grabbed the binder from the table. "This isn't over," he said. Carolyn looked at him. "The amendment is canceled. I'm talking about the damage he caused." He pointed at me. The committee members were gathering their papers. The public chairs scraped against the floor as people stood to leave. I closed my folder. "The meeting is over," I said. "No, you don't get to walk away after that." Kayla remained seated. Zachary turned toward her. "Get up." She didn't. "Kayla." "I heard you." "Then let's go." She looked at the empty table in front of her. "You told them I watched Dad sign. I was trying to keep the committee focused. You lied." He laughed without humor. "You copied the signature. You knew. I knew you said the page was handled. You told me the stamp made it usable. Stop saying that." "Why?" Marie already told them. People were still close enough to hear. Zachary noticed. He lowered his voice. "You cost us the deal." Kayla looked up at him. "You paid the deposit before financing was approved. We agreed to that. You told me the seller would take another offer that day. He would have. Did he say that, or did you?" His face went still. "You're choosing your father now?" "No, I'm asking you a question. I'm not doing this here." He walked out carrying the binder. Kayla stayed in the chair. Carolyn came around the table with 2 copies of my withdrawal. One remained in the city file. She stamped the other as received and wrote the committee item number beneath the date. "This is your receipt," she said. I took it. "Does the city need anything else from me?" "Not on the amendment. And the original loan? It remains active. The payment is current. Please keep all notices going directly to me. That change is already in place." She looked at Kayla. "Mrs. Hayes, the canceled amendment can't be resubmitted with this guarantor's name unless he personally starts a new request." "That won't happen," I said. Kayla nodded. "I understand." Carolyn closed the red folder and left the chamber. Kayla wiped her face with a tissue. "I don't have my car." "Where is it?" "At the shop. I'll drive you there." "You don't have to." "I know." We walked outside without speaking. Zachary's truck was gone. My car was half a block away. Kayla followed me, then stopped beside the passenger door. "Are you going to let me in?" I realized I was still holding the keys without unlocking it. I pressed the button. She got in. The drive to the shop took less than 10 minutes. Neither of us spoke until we reached the parking lot. The blinds were closed. Zachary's truck wasn't there. Kayla looked at the office door. "He'll empty the account, can he?" "He controls the online login." "You told me you both had access. I can see it." "He has the security code. Call the bank." She looked at me. "Now?" "Yes." "What do I say?" "Tell them what access belongs to you. Ask what you can protect without pretending you own his share." She pulled out her phone. "You'll stay? I'll sit here while you make the call." She called the number on the back of her business debit card. I couldn't hear the other side. I listened to Kayla answer questions. "Yes, I'm an owner." "No, I'm not reporting theft. I need my own login." She found the business tax number in an email. Then she wrote down instructions on the back of the committee agenda. The call lasted 15 minutes. When she finished, she said, "They can give me separate credentials. They can also send an alert for every transfer. Do that. Zach will get an alert that I changed access. It's your account too." She completed the setup from her phone. A moment later, she opened the transaction history. "The deposit is still the only large transfer," she said. "What about payroll?" "The first customer payment cleared Tuesday. Payroll went out. That's good. We're almost empty again." I waited. She looked at me. "I'm not asking. All right." Her eyes dropped to the phone. "That's hard for you, isn't it?" "What? Not offering?" "Yes." She nodded slowly. "I opened a personal account last month. I didn't know that." "Does Zach have access?" "He knows it exists. He doesn't have the login." "How much is in it?" "That's private." "You're right." She looked surprised. "I'm moving my next paycheck there," she said. "Your choice. I'm also stopping the automatic transfer into the household account until we separate the bills." "Have you told him?" "No." "Then tell him before he discovers it. He'll say, 'I'm abandoning him.' You can't control what he calls it." She put the phone away. "What do I do about the petition?" "You signed it." "Correct what you signed. Will you help me write something?" I'll show you the parts that are false. You write your own statement." She nodded. "Can we do that tonight?" "No." Her face fell. "I'm tired, Kayla." "So are you. What if Zach comes back? This is your business too. Decide whether you're staying or leaving." I meant, where do I go? I looked through the windshield. "You can come to my house if you need a safe place to sleep, but I'm not hiding you from a conversation you need to have." She swallowed. "Can I just sit here for a while?" "Yes." I waited with her for another 10 minutes. Then her phone rang. "Zachary." She answered and put it on speaker. "Where are you?" he asked. "At the shop." "With him?" "Dad drove me." "Of course he did. I have separate access to the business account now." There was silence. "You did what?" "I'm an owner. I need to see transfers when they happen." "You already could." "I couldn't approve or stop anything. Because you don't understand cash flow." "I understood the deposit." "You signed it." "I did. I'm not blaming you for my signature." He seemed unprepared for that answer. Then he said, "Are you coming home?" "I don't know. If you stay with him, don't bother. I'm not staying with Dad." I looked at her. She kept her eyes on the dashboard. "I need a few days," she continued. "I'm changing where my paycheck goes. We can separate the bills tomorrow. You're taking money out of our marriage. I'm separating my pay. I'm not touching yours." "You think that makes a difference?" "Yes. You've ruined enough today. You told the committee I watched Dad sign. Because you were supposed to hold the story together." Kayla closed her eyes. "I'm not doing that anymore." "Then don't come home." He ended the call. She sat without moving. I wanted to tell her she had done well. I didn't. One honest sentence didn't erase the papers she had signed. "You should go inside," I said. "Print the account records before anyone changes access again." She nodded and got out. At the office door, she turned. "Thank you for the ride. You're welcome." I drove home alone. The next morning, Kayla emailed me a statement she had written for the court. It said I had always paid my bills, that her access to my phone account had been for convenience, and that her claims about confusion were not true. She stated that she no longer supported the petition. I called her. "Did you file this?" "Not yet." "Why not?" "I wanted you to read it. It isn't my statement. I know. Then file it because it's true, not because I approve." She was quiet. "I'll file it today." "Send me the receipt when you do." "I will." At noon, the court's electronic stamp appeared on the copy she sent me. That was an action. It didn't withdraw Zachary's name. It didn't erase hers from the original petition. But it placed her correction beside it. Later that afternoon, Zachary sent me an email. He wrote that I was responsible for the lost deposit, the acquisition failure, and any future damage to their company. He said he would not repay a cent I had previously covered because those payments had been family support, not loans. I printed the message, then I replied with 3 sentences. "The original loan remains your obligation. I will honor only the guarantee I signed if the city requires it. I will not fund, guarantee, lend tools to, or repair equipment for the business again." He answered within a minute, "Then stay out of our lives." I didn't reply. That evening, Kayla came to my house with a folder of bank statements and a notebook. She did not use a key, she knocked. When I opened the door, she stayed on the porch. "I'm not asking to stay," she said. "What are you asking?" "I want to know everything I owe you." I looked at the notebook in her hand. "Come in." She sat at the kitchen table while I brought up the yellow service pad from the workbench. I placed it between us, but kept my hand on the cover. "This won't be settled tonight," I said. "I know, and agreeing on a number doesn't restore anything else. I know that too." I opened the pad to the first payment I had covered. Kayla wrote the date in her notebook. We went through every entry. Some were easy. The 2 city payments had dates and canceled checks. Parts purchases had receipts. The brake work had a parts total, but no charge for my time. Kayla stopped writing. "You should charge for the labor." "No. You spent whole weekends helping us." "I chose to do that. But Zach would have paid another shop." "I'm not another shop." She looked at the page. "That's how we got here." "Yes. We agreed to count money I had paid directly and parts I had bought. We did not assign a price to every hour I had worked. The total was large enough to make Kayla sit back. I can't pay this quickly. I know. What would you accept each month? What can you pay without missing your own bills? I need to work that out. Then work it out." She looked at me carefully. "You're not going to tell me?" "No. What if I choose too little?" "I'll tell you." That almost made her smile. She took the notebook home. 2 days later, she returned with a budget. We sat at the same table and checked it. She had listed rent, groceries, insurance, fuel, and her share of the existing business loan. She had removed Zachary's personal expenses. "You're paying rent now?" I asked. "I found a small apartment. Are you leaving him? We're living separately. Does he know?" "He knows now." "What happened when you told him?" "He said I was overreacting. Did you change your decision?" "No." She proposed $300 a month toward what she owed me. "That's reasonable," I said. "I can pay more when the business has a good month." "No. Pay the agreed amount. Keep extra money for your own emergencies. I thought you wanted repayment." "I do. I don't want another crisis built into the plan." We wrote the terms on one page. There was no interest. Payments were due on the 15th. Either of us could review the amount after 6 months. Kayla signed it. I signed it too. "This doesn't mean everything is fixed," I said. "I know. It doesn't buy visits. I know that too." Her first payment arrived on the 15th. She didn't call to make sure I had seen it. She didn't attach an apology. She simply sent the amount we had agreed on. The next month, she did it again. Zachary never apologized. He sent one more message saying the lost deposit should be credited against anything Kayla owed me. I replied that I had never agreed to the deposit and would not pay for it directly or indirectly. He didn't answer. The business stayed open, but it remained the same size. Mid-Iowa Mechanical went to another buyer. Kayla and Zachary's company kept doing residential work and a few small commercial jobs. Without my tools, they rented what they needed until they could buy replacements. Without my checks, they delayed purchases and cut expenses. That was their work to manage. 3 weeks after the meeting, Zachary called while I was eating dinner. "The recovery machine is down again," he said. I set my fork beside the plate. "What do you need from me? You rebuilt it before." "I remember. We have 2 jobs tomorrow. I'm not repairing business equipment." "You're really going to keep this up forever?" "Yes." He gave a short laugh. "So, this is revenge." "No. It's the boundary I gave you in writing. Kayla says you're helping her with a budget. That's personal. Convenient distinction. It's the same distinction I made with the loan." He ended the call. The next morning, I drove past their shop on my way to a service call. A rental equipment van was parked outside. They had solved the problem without me. That hurt a little. It also relieved me. I had spent years treating every problem they solved alone as evidence that they needed me less. I was beginning to understand why Linda kept asking me to come to dinner instead of fixing another machine. About a month later, Kayla asked if I would help install 2 shelves in her apartment. She asked directly. "I have the shelves and the hardware," she said. "I only need help finding the studs." "What day?" "Saturday, if you're free. I'm free in the morning." Her apartment was on the 2nd floor of a brick building. It had 1 bedroom, a narrow kitchen, and a window facing a parking lot. She had bought a second-hand table and 4 chairs. I brought a level, drill, and stud finder. She made coffee while I measured the wall. "You don't need to pay me," I said. I wasn't going to. I looked at her. She smiled for real that time. Too soon? A little. We installed both shelves. She held the level while I drove the screws. When we finished, she placed 3 books and a framed photograph of Linda on the lower shelf. The photograph had been taken at our kitchen table. Linda was laughing at something outside the frame. "I found it in one of my boxes," Kayla said. "I remember that day." What was she laughing at? "You tried to make pancakes without baking powder." I was grown before I knew there was a difference. "Your mother knew. She let you serve them anyway." Kayla adjusted the frame. She would be ashamed of me. I put the drill into its case. "I'm not going to use your mother that way." Kayla looked at me. "She isn't here to approve your choices or condemn them. You made them. You're correcting them. Do you forgive me?" "Not yet." She nodded. "All right." That answer didn't make her leave. We ate lunch at the second-hand table. When I left, she thanked me for the shelves. She didn't ask for money or send me home with business paperwork. The conservatorship petition lasted another 2 weeks. Kayla filed a request to remove herself as a petitioner. She also sent Zachary a copy of her corrected statement and told him she would appear against his claims if he continued. He dismissed the petition. He didn't admit it was false. He wrote that it was no longer worth pursuing because the loan issue had been resolved. That was the closest he came to taking responsibility. Kayla stayed separated from him. She kept her personal account, her own paycheck, and separate passwords. On the business account, she kept transfer alerts and reviewed every payment. She also stopped signing documents she hadn't read. One afternoon, she brought me a city notice about the original loan. "I'm not asking you to handle it," she said. "I want to make sure I understand the date." We read it together. The payment schedule had not changed. "What do you think it says?" I asked. "That we owe the regular amount on the 1st. "Correct. And if we pay it, you don't need to do anything." "Correct." She folded the notice and put it back in her purse. They made the payment themselves. 2 months passed without a missed installment. I kept working. I still repaired furnaces, replaced air conditioners, and came home with dirt under my fingernails. I started accepting dinner invitations I would once have canceled for unnecessary work. Some evenings, the house still felt too quiet. I stopped treating that feeling like an emergency. Kayla called on a Sunday morning. "Are you home?" "Yes. Can I come by? What do you need?" "Nothing," I almost asked again. Instead, I said, "All right." She arrived with no folder, no broken equipment, and no question about money. She knocked, even though I had given her one new key for emergencies. I let her in. We sat at the kitchen table and drank coffee. She told me about a difficult customer and a movie she had watched. I told her about a furnace someone had tried to repair with tape meant for cardboard boxes. The conversation lasted 40 minutes. When she stood to leave, she put her cup in the sink. "Same time, next Sunday?" she asked. "If you want." "I do." She came back the next Sunday. Then she missed one because of work. She called ahead instead of expecting me to understand. The following week, she returned. Trust didn't come back in one piece. It returned in small, ordinary acts. She paid on the 15th. She knocked. She answered direct questions. When she didn't know, she said so. I did my part too. I stopped offering money before she asked. When she mentioned a business problem, I listened without reaching for my tools. Sometimes she only wanted her father. That had been available all along. If you stayed with me through all of this, tell me where you're listening from and what you would have done in that committee room. If you want to hear more stories like mine, subscribe and come back for the next one. On the first cold evening that fall, I went downstairs after checking the furnace. The workbench was clear except for the city folder. I opened it and reviewed the original guarantee, the canceled amendment notice, and the repayment agreement. The existing loan remained current. Kayla's payments to me arrived as promised. No new guarantee had been requested, and none would be given. I removed the spare keys that no longer opened anything and put them in a drawer with old hardware. Linda's house documents envelope stayed in the box. Her note was still inside. Ask directly. Write down the answer. I closed the city folder and slid it beneath the household records. Then I picked up the stamped paper Carolyn had handed me after the meeting. At my workbench, I placed the committee stamped withdrawal receipt in my steel document box and turned the key.